Chapter 1. I didn't expect that Nyetion, would be reborn. In the room, Nyetion's body trembled violently. His eyes were filled with suppressed anger. His heart was in a state of turmoil as all sorts of memories of the past flashed through his mind. Nyetion was the number one war god in the heaven realm. He single-handedly conquered more than half of the day-night divine realm. His illustrious reputation shook the divine realm. In order to reward him for his peerless achievements, Day-Night Emperor betrothed his beloved princess Xian to him. Luo Xian, the number one beauty in the Day-Night divine realm, was peerless and devastatingly beautiful. Together with Nyetion, the number one war god in the heaven realm, they were a match made in heaven. However, Nyetion never expected that Luo Xian would attack him on their wedding night. The number one war god of the heaven realm died in the hands of his fiancée. Moreover, he died on their wedding night. What a joke. Why did she kill me? Could the rumors be true? Day-Night Emperor betrothed Luo Xian to me. It was a conspiracy to kill me. Nyetion's eyes were sharp. His heart was in turmoil. It had always been a taboo for a subject to intimidate their lord. Nyetion's reputation in the Day-Night divine realm far surpassed Day-Night Emperor. It was reasonable for the latter to want to kill him. Day-Night Emperor, Luo Xian, you father and daughter are so cruel. I, Nyetion, fought for the Day-Night divine realm. I saw Luo Xian as the love of my life. I didn't expect her to die in the hands of you father and daughter. Nyetion's eyes were bloodshot. His body trembled. After a long time, Nyetion calmed down a little. His eyes flashed. He suddenly laughed wildly. Fine. Since the heavens have allowed me, Nyetion, to be reborn, I, Nyetion, will no longer be someone's subject. In this life, I want to create my own world. In this life, I want to become an ancient heavenly emperor. In this life, I want to rule the heaven realm. Nyetion's bold and visionary words were deafening. He was like a sharp sword that had been unsheathed. After being reborn, Nyetion was full of confidence. However, when he looked at his current body, he laughed bitterly and mocked himself. This body is really too weak. After dying in Luo Xian's hands, Nyetion woke up 100 years later. His soul was reborn in the body of a young man who had died of illness. Coincidentally, this youth was also called Nyetion. The current Nyetion was the patriarch of the Nye family, one of the three great families of Moyang City. But as the head of the family, he was not even as good as a servant in the family. Even if he died in the room, no one would know. The reason for this was because he was a cripple with his yuan meridians destroyed. 3 years ago, Nyetion was still the number one genius of Moyang City. At the age of 13, he had reached the 9th level of yuan meridians. But one day, 3 years ago, Nyetion, his father, and many other clansmen entered the shattering Cloud Mountain range for training. However, they were ambushed by a group of black-robed men. In the end, his father and clansmen were all killed. Only Nyetion managed to escape, but his yuan meridians were destroyed, turning him into a cripple. After his father's death, he succeeded as the patriarch. But in everyone's eyes, the patriarch, was nothing. With his yuan meridians destroyed, Nyetion began to give up on himself. Every day, he would drown his sorrows in alcohol and wander around the brothels. Just yesterday, he was beaten into a coma by Ba Ziyang, the young master of the Ba family, one of the three great families of Moyang City. After being carried back to the Nye residence, he breathed his last this morning. This gave the god of war, Nyetion, the opportunity to possess him. My yuan meridians are destroyed. Nyetion calmed down and started to examine his new body. Poison. Nyetion examined his yuan meridians and was shocked to find that, in addition to the serious damage, his yuan meridians were also tainted black. I was poisoned to death. A face appeared in Nyetion's mind. The Nye family's head deacon, Nye Santong. When Nyetion was injured, only Nye Santong had visited him and given him a yuan fortifying pill to heal his injuries. Nye Santong, he must have coveted the position of patriarch and plotted to kill me. Nyetion immediately understood. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Ah. Nye Tian continued to examine his body. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he exclaimed in shock, "Raw star stone. I can't believe it was reborn together with me. Patriarch, something bad has happened." At this moment, a figure rushed in through the door and shouted in panic. "Anyo, what happened?" Nye Tian looked at the person and asked indifferently. Anyo, Nye Tian's servant and the only person in the Nye family who treated him as the patriarch. "Patriarch, Ba family is here to force a marriage." Panting heavily, Anyo said anxiously, "Ba family." Nye Tian frowned slightly. Remembering that he was injured by the Ba family's young master, Ba Ziang, his face immediately became gloomy. The Ba family, like the Nye family, was one of the three big families in Moyang City. However, ever since the death of Nye Tian's father 3 years ago, the Nye family's reputation declined day by day. Today, the Nye family was on the verge of collapse. Because of this, the Ba family's young master, Ba Zhang, dared to seriously injure Nye Tian, the patriarch of the Ba family, until he fainted. "Anyo, don't panic. What's the matter with the forced marriage?" Nye Tian did not panic. Instead, he smiled playfully. Anyo was stunned and looked at Nye Tian with a strange expression. Was this still the patriarch? How could he be so calm? Anyo faintly felt that Nye Tian had changed. He was not the same as before, but he could not tell what was different. "Speak quickly." Nye Tian saw that Anyo was in a daze and urged him. Yes." Anyo reacted and hurriedly said, "The Ba family's housekeeper brought the Ba family's eldest young master and third young master to propose marriage to the most talented ninth young Mississippi, ninth sister." Nye Tian thought of an adorable face that looked like it had been carved out of jade. The Nye family was a big family with a large population. Among the same generation, they were arranged according to age. Ninth young sister was the ninth youngest girl in the Nye family. Ninth young sister's name is Nye Yuro. Nye Tian remembered that the last time he saw ninth young sister was 3 years ago. At that time, Nye Yuro was only 6 years old. Now that he thought about it, she should be 9 years old. 9 years old, Nye Tian exclaimed. Who would propose marriage to a 9-year-old girl? Who is the Ba family proposing marriage to? Nye Tian's face darkened and a trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. To propose marriage to a 9-year-old child, the Ba family was simply insane. First, they injured Nye Tian, then they came to force a marriage. The Ba family was really arrogant. Ba family's third young master, Ba Zixing. Anyo replied, Ba Zixing. Nye Tian's face darkened even more. He said in a low voice, if I remember correctly, Ba Zixing is an idiot. Anyo looked at Nye Tian, swallowed and nodded heavily. Nye Tian did not remember wrongly. Ba Zixing was indeed an idiot, and he was the one who beat him until he became an idiot. 3 years ago, Nye Tian was in the limelight. At the Moyang City Marshal meet, Ba Zixing was not convinced and challenged him. In the end, he was beaten until he became an idiot. Because of this, the Nye family and Ba family almost fought to the death. Now, the Ba family was proposing marriage to Nye Yuro on behalf of Ba Zixing. It was obvious that they were bullying the Nye family and wanted to avenge their previous humiliation. Nye Yuro was the Nye family's genius of the new generation. Just 9 years old, she was already at the 4th level of the Yuan Meridian realm. Her talent was close to that of Nye Tian. If Nye Yuro married Ba Zixing, the Nye family would definitely become the laughingstock of Moyang City. They would also lose a young genius. No, this cannot be allowed to happen. Nye Tian's face was stern as he growled. Lead the way. I want to go to the conference hall. Chapter 2. In the Nye family's meeting hall. A middle-aged man with a mustache sat on the patriarch's seat, the corners of his mouth curving into a smile from time to time. He was the grand deacon of the Nye family, Nye Santong. Because the patriarch, Nye Tian, had never asked about the family's affairs, the Nye family was under his control. However, he had always wanted to kill Nye Tian and become the real patriarch of the Nye family. This wish would soon be fulfilled. The Nye family would soon find out that Nye Tian was already dead. The foundation pill that Nye Santong sent to Nye Tian was indeed a poison pill. Below Nye Santong sat a few old men. They were members of the Nye family's elders' council, all members of the Nye family's ancestral generation. Brother Santong, sign it. As long as you sign this marriage contract, the Ba clan and the Nye clan will become one family. In the future, the Nye clan will receive the Ba clan's protection and will be able to survive in Moyang City. Isn't that great? A voice filled with ridicule rang out in the hall. The one who spoke was an old man in luxurious clothes. He looked at Nye Santong with his nose in the air, his face full of arrogance and disdain. The old man was Ba Warren, the Ba family's housekeeper. Beside Ba Warren were two young men. One was the Ba family's first young master, Ba Ziang, and the other was the Ba family's third young master, Ba Zixing. Hee, wife, you are my wife. Ba Zixing was a fool. He sucked on his finger and looked at a little girl not far away, drooling. Not far away from Ba Zixing, a little girl of 8 or 9 years old bit her lips and said angrily, "Third uncle, I will not marry him, even if I die." This little girl was none other than the Nye family's genius of the new generation, Nye Tian's ninth sister, Nye Yuro. Many young martial artists of the Nye family gathered outside the hall, clenching their fists and glaring angrily. The Ba family's gone too far. Not only did they injure our useless patriarch, they are now proposing marriage on behalf of a fool, and to the most talented ninth sister at that. This is too much. This is a slap to the Nye family's face. This marriage must not be agreed to. Sigh. It's all because our Nye family's patriarch is a good-for-nothing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been trampled on by others. This is all because of that useless Nye Tian. The people of the Nye clan discussed in low voices. What made people speechless was that in the end, the spearhead was actually pointed at Nye Tian. Nye Yuro, how dare you? Nye Santong suddenly slammed the table fiercely and roared. This is the conference hall. How dare a junior like you, but in. This is my marriage. I will make my own decisions. I won't kiss him even if I die. Nye Yuro was still young, and after being frightened by Nye Santong, she immediately burst into tears. You won't kiss me even if you die? Ba Wuren laughed coldly and glanced at Nye Yuro. Does Miss Yuro look down on our Ba family's third young master? Or are you looking down on us? Oof. The eldest young master of the Ba clan, Ba Zing, laughed awkwardly and said, My third brother has an imposing appearance and a dignified appearance. Which part of him is not worthy of a little girl like you? He had an imposing appearance and a dignified bearing. Only Ba Ziang could say that. These two words had nothing to do with Ba Zixing. The martial artists of the Nye clan looked at the drooling Ba Zixing and retched. Seeing that the Ba clan was angry, Nye Santong panicked and wanted to open his mouth to apologize. At this time, a voice full of mockery suddenly sounded. What an imposing appearance and a dignified bearing. Ba Zing, your words are really eye-opening. Lying through your teeth, at your level, no one can compare? As the ear-piercing voice sounded, everyone was stunned and immediately looked towards the source of the voice. Outside the conference hall, Nye Tian's figure appeared. He ignored everyone's gazes and strode into the conference hall. Seeing that the person who came was Nye Tian, everyone was petrified. Am I seeing this right? It's actually our useless patriarch. What the hell? Our useless patriarch has actually appeared. Patriarch? Who does he think he is? Beaten to such a sorry state. How can he be the patriarch? He's only a pile of dog shit. After a moment, the crowd reacted and said words that were unbearable to the ears. Nye Tian also ignored them. In a moment, they would know whether Nye Tian was really useless or not. Oh, I was wondering who it was. Turns out it's the famous useless patriarch of the Nye clan. Your wretched bones are really hard. You were beaten into a pile of mud by me yesterday, but you're still alive and kicking today. I thought you were already dead. Ba Ziang was stunned for a moment before he came to his senses and burst into laughter. He was insufferably complacent. The once number one genius of Moyang City had become the number one useless, and was even trampled under his feet like a dog. Thinking about it, Ba Ziang could not help but laugh. He, useless, Nye Tian useless. Seeing that Ba Ziang was laughing so hard, Ba Zixing also chuckled. Ba Warren, on the other hand, was much calmer. His face darkened, and he said in a strange tone, "Brother Santong, we are discussing an important matter between the two clans. It's not appropriate to let a useless person disturb us." Nie Tian also did not pay too much attention to Ba Ziang and the others. A pair of cold eyes stared at Nie Santong. At this moment, when Nie Santong saw Nie Tian appear, his eyes were wide open. Wasn't he supposed to be dead? I saw him take the poison pill with my own eyes. How could he still be alive? What the hell? Great Deacon, are you surprised to see me, the patriarch? Nie Tianlin glanced coldly at Nie Santong, his face gloomy. Nie Santong was, after all, a wily old fox. He jumped up and glared at Nie Tian. Cold, he said, "Nie Tian, what are you doing here? Hurry up and go back." You wanted to go back? Nie Tian raised his head slightly and swept his cold eyes over. Nie Santong's heart suddenly trembled. The coldness in Nie Tian's eyes made him tremble uncontrollably. Like a little lamb suddenly being stared at by an evil wolf, the feeling of powerlessness made him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Yet Santong calmed down, and his expression softened slightly. He said, "Nie Tian, listen to third uncle. Go back and recuperate. This is not a place you should be." Although he faintly felt that the situation was not good, Nie Santong still forced himself to be calm. Third uncle? The corner of Nie Tian's mouth curled up strangely as he let out a cold laugh. The reason why he had died was because of this third uncle, Nie Santong. Nie Tian, what are you laughing at? Nie Tian's strange laugh made Nie Santong's heart tremble. Suddenly, Nie Tian walked towards Nie Santong, step by step, and stopped less than a meter away from the ladder. Nie Tian, what are you trying to do? Nie Santong sat down on a chair, feeling an inexplicable fear. What am I trying to do? Nie Tian smiled playfully, the corner of his mouth raised into a cold arc. I am the patriarch. I want you to roll down from this position. I am the head of the family. Since when is it your turn to sit in the seat of the head of the family and order me around? Now get down here. His deep voice resounded throughout the meeting hall, resounding in everyone's heart. Everyone was stunned. Was this still Nie Tian? Was this still the cowardly trash? You. Nie Santong's expression changed drastically as he roared. How dare you? I am your third uncle. You have no respect for your elders. Third uncle? Nie Tian took a step forward and said word by word. If this third uncle of yours had the slightest bearing of an elder, I wouldn't have had to act like this today. Nie Tian, you? What do you mean? Nie Santong panicked. He knew that his poisoning of Nie Tian had been exposed. Nie Tianling smiled coldly and said, You know very well what I mean. I won't talk nonsense with you. I am the head of the family, and this position was originally mine. Now that I am here, you can roll down. Trash. I think you have a death wish. Nie Santong suddenly flew into a rage, his vicious voice rolling out from his throat. At this moment, he once again wanted to kill Nie Tian. Chapter 3. Nie Santong's attack was incomparably swift and vicious, obviously intending to kill with a single strike. As the eagle claw struck out, a piercing sound rang out in the air as the shadow of an eagle claw soared through the air. Cold. In an instant, Nie Tian felt a bone-chilling killing intent. Although Nie Santong was not an expert, he was still an expert at the 9th level of the Origin Spirit Realm. On the other hand, Nie Tian's 9 primordial meridians were mostly destroyed, and he only had the strength of a level 3 primordial meridian cultivator. There was no way he was Nie Santong's match. In this moment of life and death, Nie Tian's pupils suddenly constricted as a glint flashed through his eyes. At this moment, he suddenly felt an abnormal force in his body, as though it was about to explode in the next moment. In the next instant, he took a strange step, and his upper body moved strangely with each step he took. Swoosh! Nie Santong's eagle claw brushed past Nie Tian's neck, creating a fierce gust of wind that left several bloody fingerprints. I missed. As the palm landed, Nie Santong's expression was not one of joy, but one of shock and confusion. He was only a meter away from Nie Tian, and under such circumstances, even an expert at the origin spirit realm would not be able to dodge. How could Nyetan, who is only trash with his primordial meridians destroyed, avoid his fatal blow? Nyetian took a step back and let out a long breath, rejoicing in his heart. That was close. Luckily, I was bored and learned the Great Swan Steps, or else I would have died here today. At the same time, Nyetian's face was filled with shock. In that critical moment, there was a mysterious force in his body that was extremely strange. Die! Nye Santong did not give Nyetian the chance to think. Since he had already made his move, there was no need to stop. He must kill Nyetian today. Nye Santong, stop right now. Just as Nye Santong was about to make another move, an elder suddenly stood up and released a powerful aura that pressed down on Nye Santong. Nye Santong was pushed back by the powerful aura. He staggered a few steps and almost fell. Nye Santong, how dare you? How dare you try to kill the patriarch? Do you think we don't exist? The one who stood up to stop Nye Santong was the Nye family's first elder, Nye Wenyuan. Santong wouldn't dare. Nye Santong steadied himself and quickly bowed. At this time, everyone in the Nye clan craned their necks to look over. Who would have thought that Nye Wenyuan, the grand elder of the Nye clan, would actually stand up for Nye Tian? Nye Tian secretly glanced at Nye Wenyuan and said in his heart, "Old man, you have good eyesight to be able to see my potential." Nye Wenyuan didn't want to stand up at first, but he could tell that Nye Tian's footwork was very strange. To be able to dodge Nye Santong's fatal blow at such a close distance, Nye Tian's performance just now was extremely strange. Nye Wenyuan's first reaction was that Nye Tian's elemental meridians had recovered and his talent had returned. A trash Nye Tian wasn't worth Nye Wenyuan standing up for, but a genius Nye Tian was completely different. It's best if you don't dare. Nye Wenyuan looked at Nye Santong cold and said, "From now on, you are no longer the deacon of the Nye clan. Since Nye Tian has the ability to take on the responsibility of the patriarch, then from now on, all of the Nye clan's affairs will be handled by Nye Tian." This, Nye Santong's face turned pale. He didn't expect the situation to change so quickly. "Do you have any objections?" Nye Wenyuan's face sunk. "I don't dare." Nye Santong was dripping with sweat. "You guys don't have any objections?" Nye Wenyuan shouted towards the outside of the hall. "No." The Nye clan's disciples outside the hall were also stunned. They only reacted at this moment and replied in unison. Nye Tian was originally the patriarch. It was just that he didn't care about the clan's affairs. Nye Wenyuan glanced at Nye Tian and said, "Patriarch, regarding the marriage proposal of the Ba clan, I'll leave it to you." "All right." Nye Tian nodded and laughed bitterly in his heart. "This old fellow is quite worry-free. He just threw a hot potato to me. Get out of the way." Nye Tian took a step forward and scolded coldly. Nye Santong was furious, but he still got out of the way. Nye Tian sat on the patriarch seat with a faint smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. Shortly after, his gaze landed on Nye Yuro. Previously, he didn't have a chance to look at Nye Yuro, but now he had the time to take a good look. The little girl looked to be around 8 or 9 years old. Her small face was like carved jade, and although there were still traces of tears on her face from her delicate facial features, one could tell that she would definitely become a peerless beauty in the future. "Good. Very good." Before Nye Tian could say anything, Ba Warren opened his mouth and laughed loudly. "I have really seen a good show today. The Nye clan's trash patriarch actually regained control of the Nye clan. This is really worthy of celebration. Since Nye Tian is already the patriarch, please sign the marriage contract." Ba Warren said with an arrogant look on his face, as if he was ordering Nye Tian around. "Big brother Nye Tian, don't sign it." Nye Yuro shouted anxiously, her tears falling again. "Big brother Nye Tian." Hearing this shout, Nye Tian suddenly remembered that 3 years ago, his relationship with Nye Yuro was very good, and the little girl often pestered him to ride on a horse. "Ninth sister, don't worry. Just because you call me Big Brother Nye Tian, I definitely won't sign any bullsh asterisk T marriage contract." Nye Tian nodded towards Nye Yuro. He had no intention of signing the marriage contract at all. "Nye Tian, if you know what's good for you." Hurry up and sign a marriage contract and find a backer for your Nye clan. In the future, you'll be able to survive in Moyang City. Ba Xiang saw that Nye Tian had no intention of signing the marriage contract and sneered, his posture provocative. Find a backer? Nye Tian could not help but laugh. I, Nye Tian, am the biggest backer. Why would I need an idiot to be my backer? Nye Tian was the #1 war god in Heaven Realm. Asking him to find a backer was the biggest joke in the world. Patriarch Nye, so you're saying that you don't intend to sign this marriage contract? Ba Warren's face darkened, his tone full of threat. With a faint smile, Nye Tian suddenly rose to his feet, picked up the marriage contract, and glanced over it. With a meaningful smile, he said, "The third young master of the Ba clan has a dignified appearance and a dignified appearance. Except for the fact that he's an idiot, everything else is perfect. Unfortunately, my Nye clan has no interest in dignified idiots. Ba clan's marriage contract, break it. Rip." As soon as he finished, the marriage contract was torn in half. From a beginning to the end, Nye Tian had no intention of signing any marriage contract. Ba clan proposing marriage for an idiot to the Nye clan's genius was clearly forcing a marriage. If Nye Tian signed this marriage contract, Nye clan would become the biggest joke in Moyang City. Nye Tian, you. Ba Warren flew into a rage out of humiliation. His face was so gloomy that it could almost drip water. He shouted in a deep voice, "Do you know that you're digging your own grave for Nye clan by doing this? Your Nye clan had already declined 3 years ago. Without Ba clan as your backer, Nye clan will disappear from Moyang City within half a year." Nye clan declined. Sigh. Nye Tian shook his head and couldn't help but sigh. Nye clan's decline was indeed an indisputable fact. In a tragedy 3 years ago, not only did Nye Tian's father die tragically, more than half of Nye clan's backbone also died. That was why people like Nye Santong were able to take advantage of the loophole and become the head deacon. In the past 3 years, Nye clan's various industries were constantly shrinking, and their reputation in Moyang City was declining day by day. If the situation continued to develop like this, the Nye family skyscraper would indeed collapse. But now was different. Nye Tian had appeared. The dignified Heaven Realm's #1 war god. Not to mention a small clan in the 3,000 small worlds, even an empire or a continent in the Shumi world would rise rapidly because of Nye Tian's appearance. Seeing Nye Tian sigh, Ba Xiang immediately became complacent and said embarrassedly, "Nye Tian, you are now the Nye clan's head. Soon, I will become the Ba clan's head. As the future Ba clan's head, I will give you a chance. As long as you sign the marriage contract and announce that Nye clan will become my Ba clan's vassal clan, and you will become my Ba Xiang's dog, then I can guarantee that in the future, your Nye clan." Ba Xiang was so excited that he didn't notice that Nye Tian's face was gradually becoming gloomy. Chapter 4. Nye Tian, you dare to hit me? Ba Xiang covered half of his swollen face and looked at Nye Tian in disbelief. "So what if I hit you? You should be glad that my strength hasn't recovered yet. Otherwise, you would be a corpse by now." A chill flashed across Nye Tian's face. Learning the swan steps Wakaba wasn't in vain. It allowed Nye Tian to easily slap Ba Xiang. However, his strength was too weak. Otherwise, Ba Xiang's face wouldn't just be swollen, but a bloody hole. At this moment, Nye Wenyuan, Nye Santong, Ba Warren, and the others were all petrified. They looked at Nye Tian in bewilderment. How did Nye Tian do it? This was the question in everyone's mind. Even Nye Wenyuan, who was at the 3rd level of the All Creations realm, couldn't see Nye Tian's steps clearly. "Nye Tian, your talent has really returned. There's hope for our Nye clan to rise again." Nye Wenyuan was shocked and excited. If it was a coincidence that Nye Tian dodged Nye Santong's fatal blow, then him slapping Ba Xiang was an undeniable proof of his strength. In his previous life, Nye Tian was killed by Emperor Dainite and Luo Xian. In this life, he would no longer be anyone's subordinate, nor would he be anyone's dog. Ba Xiang's words successfully angered him, so he received a slap as a reward. "Nye Tian, you're courting death." Ba Ziyang roared furiously. Do you think you're still the genius you were 3 years ago? If you still had the strength you had 3 years ago, I might be wary of you. But now, you're just a piece of trash, an ant. I can step on you however I want. You want to step on me? Tian couldn't help but smile. He looked at Ba Ziyang with a hint of pity in his eyes. He really sympathized with Ba Ziyang, because the latter was an idiot in his eyes. Step on the Heaven Realm's #1 war god? Not even the Day-Night Emperor, the ruler of the Day-Night Divine Realm, would dare say such a thing. Back then, Heavenly Emperor Quanwu Long Aoyan, who was known as the #1 madman in the Heaven Realm, had been chased by the desolate ancient divine guards under Tian for 9 days and 9 nights because he had said something bad about Tian's stinginess. In the end, Long Aoyan knelt outside the war god's temple for half a month before Tian reluctantly stopped. Later, Long Aoyan accidentally became Tian's sworn brother. But that was a story for another time. Now, a young master from a local family in the 3,000 small world was actually saying that he wanted to trample on Tian. If these words were to spread, the Heaven Realm God Palace would probably collapse from laughter. Tian, I was able to severely injure you yesterday, and I can do it again today. If you dare to take even half a step out of the Nye residence, I will definitely beat you up like a dog. Ba Ziyang was not too stupid. He could see the disdain in Tian's eyes and immediately gritted his teeth. If they were not in the Nye residence's main hall, Ba Ziyang would definitely have cut Tian into pieces. Beat me up like a dog? Tianling laughed, and in the next moment, his figure moved. As he moved, Tian put 2 fingers together and abruptly pointed out. 2 streaks of air-piercing energy flew out. Bang! Bang! 2 muffled sounds rang out, and Ba Ziyang suddenly knelt down. Tian withdrew his soaring steps and returned to the patriarch's seat, looking extremely carefree. He did not even bother to look at Ba Ziyang and said coldly, "Little brat, this is a lesson for you. Next time, be careful with your words, or you will die." As Tian spoke, he shook his head slightly and laughed bitterly. He sighed inwardly. This body is seriously too weak. I can't even unleash the tyrannical Eastern Emperor finger. How embarrassing. What he used just now was precisely the world's most domineering finger martial technique, Eastern Emperor finger. Thinking back, when he was at his peak, even a Heavenly Emperor powerhouse could not withstand a finger of his. Who would have thought that using the Eastern Emperor finger now, he actually could not even kill a puny, little level 9 Origin Meridian martial artist? Ba Ziyang's current strength was a level 9 Origin Meridian martial artist, the same as Tian 3 years ago. Reaching this kind of strength at the age of 20 was seriously trash. In his previous life, Tian was already a Heavenly Emperor powerhouse when he was 20 years old. Martial artist cultivation was divided into 9 realms: Origin Meridian Realm, Essence Spirit Realm, Manifestation Realm, Giant Soul Realm, True Essence Realm, Divine Will Realm, Heaven Evolution Realm, Deva Realm, and Heavenly Emperor Realm. Each realm was further divided into 9 minor realms, from 1 to 9 minor realms. Were there realms above Heavenly Emperor Realm? Yes. Above Heavenly Emperor Realm was the legendary deity realm. It was just that extremely few people touched it, so the world did not know. The highest realm that Tian reached in his previous life was level 9 Heavenly Emperor, barely able to touch the threshold of the deity realm. But at the most critical moment, he suffered a tragic betrayal, nursing a grudge for eternity. But since he already reincarnated, he would definitely assault the legendary deity realm in this life. Ba Ziyang knelt on both knees, his expression lifeless at this moment. He never would have thought that the current him was actually kneeling in front of Tian. "Eldest young master, are you all right?" The Ba Warren, who was in a daze for a long time, only reacted after a long time, hurriedly supporting Ba Ziyang. Ba Ziyang stood up, staring at Tian with a kind of resentment, rage, and malice. If looks could kill, the current Tian would have long been dismembered into 1,000 pieces. Tian, Ba Ziyang, swear that today's humiliation, I'll definitely repay it 100-fold, 1,000-fold. Suddenly, a vicious and furious voice came out of Ba Ziyang's throat. He was the Ba family's eldest young master and was normally respected and feared by others. Since when had he been slapped in the face in public, and even had to kneel in public? He couldn't swallow this insult. If it weren't for the fact that he still had some rationality left, Ba Ziyang would have definitely rushed up and skinned Nie Tian alive. But now that they were in the Nie manor, if Ba Ziyang dared to make a move, the elders of the Nie family and the young martial artists outside the main hall would each slap him so hard that even his own mother wouldn't be able to recognize him. Ba Warren didn't know what to do. He never would have thought that what was originally a good opportunity to humiliate the Nie family would turn out like this. The Ba family was too careless. How could they have thought that the Nie family, which was already on the verge of collapse, would actually dare to fight back? Chi! Nie Tian curled his lips and smiled. The Ba family's eldest young master is really hot-tempered, wanting to repay it 100-fold, 1,000-fold. This kind of threat might be able to scare a child, but not me. After his rebirth, Nie Tian understood the principle of the strong being respected more than anyone else. If he didn't act tough now, the ones who would kneel tomorrow would be the Nie family. Big fish eat small fish eat shrimps. The law of the jungle was the eternal law of the jungle. This was the way of survival in this world. Simple, direct, barbaric, violent. Ba Ziyang clenched his teeth and said in a voice full of hatred, Nie Tian, in half a month at the Moyang City Martial Competition, I will kill all the martial artists from the Nie family. As he said the last word, Ba Ziyang was already roaring. After he finished, he turned around angrily, not willing to stay for another moment. Before Ba Warren left, he glanced at Nie Tian and sneered. Nie Tian, you have offended our eldest young master. Your Nie family will suffer the wrath of the Ba family. After he finished, Ba Warren left with Ba Zixing. Chapter 5. After the Ba clan left, the Nie clan's meeting hall was in an uproar. The Ba clan's elders were the first to speak. Nie Tian, you are too reckless. How can you do this? Even if you want to reject the Ba clan's marriage proposal, you can't insult the Ba clan's young master. Yeah, the Ba clan's young master has a very high status in the clan. If we do this, we will completely offend the Ba clan. How can we establish ourselves in Moyang City in the future? Nie Tian, you are indeed a star of calamity. You have brought disaster to the Nie clan. The elders beat their chests and stamped their feet, each more serious than the last. Nie Tian completely ignored these people. He looked at the first elder, Nie Wenyuan, and said indifferently, First elder, what do you think of this patriarch's handling of this matter? Nie Wenyuan naturally understood Nie Tian's intention. He slowly stood up and said in a clear voice, I think patriarch's action is very correct. The Ba clan has gone too far. If we don't fight back, the Ba clan will really think that we are easy to bully. Patriarch slapping the Ba clan's young master's face is increasing the prestige of the Nie clan. Let the Ba clan know that the Nie clan is absolutely not easy to bully. As his resounding voice faded, the entire hall went silent. Nie Wenyuan's words could not be clearer. He fully supported Nie Tian's action. Nie Tian smiled faintly. It seemed that there was still a sensible person in the Nie clan. The other elders of the Nie clan were too muddle-headed. The Ba clan had already set their eyes on the Nie clan. Even if Nie Tian used a gentle method to refuse, the Ba clan would not let the Nie clan go. Instead, they would only deal with the Nie clan with more intensity. Nie Tian's unyielding counterattack would instead make the Ba clan somewhat afraid, and they might restrain themselves a little. Nie Tian glanced at the Ba clan elders and said indifferently, Elders, this patriarch still has matters to attend to. I will take my leave first. Everything in the Nie clan will continue as usual. If there is nothing important, do not disturb this patriarch. Moyang City's martial meet is about to begin. Patriarch, you can focus on your cultivation. Leave the family matters to I. Nie Wenyuan respectfully replied. All right, that's all. I'll take my leave first. Nie Tian smiled faintly, stood up, and prepared to leave. Patriarch, Nie Wenyuan suddenly called out to Nie Tian, you've just presided over the clan. Don't you want to say a few words to everyone? Nye Tian smiled faintly. Of course, he understood what Nye Wenyuan meant. The Nye family was currently in a precarious situation. The hearts of the family members were scattered, and they needed someone who could unite the entire family. Nye Wenyuan believed that the genius Nye Tian of the past was the person who could unite the entire clan. At this time, Nye Wenyuan hoped that Nye Tian could give his family some encouragement. Nye Tian was the Heaven Realm's war god in his previous life, so he often mobilized his troops before a battle. What he often said to his subordinates was, "Soldiers, no matter who the enemy is, victory must belong to us." At this moment, it was more or less the same as mobilizing troops before a battle. Nye Tian looked at the Nye family members outside the hall, puffed out his chest, and with a domineering self-confidence, he proudly said, "Everyone listen up. This patriarch doesn't care how the Nye family is now, but this patriarch promises everyone that from today onwards, the Nye family will not be bullied by anyone. Whoever dares to provoke the Nye family will only have one ending death. That's all I have to say. Everyone disperse." Nye Tian finished speaking, and under countless strange gazes, he strode away. Only when Nye Tian's figure disappeared did everyone react. Immediately, a thunderous applause rang out. The Nye family members were too excited. Now that the Nye family was in a precarious situation, they needed such a domineering declaration to unite the people. From this moment onwards, no one would treat Nye Tian as trash anymore. Nye Wenyuan watched as Nye Tian left, his heart blooming with joy. Nye Tian, the former #1 genius of Emoyang City, is back, and he's even more abnormal than 3 years ago. There's hope for our Nye family to rise again. Everyone in the Nye family was in a state of ecstasy, except for one person, Nye Santong. His face was gloomy and terrifying, and his eyes were filled with complex emotions. There was hatred, anger, humiliation, and fear. Nye Tian's rise meant that he would lose everything in the Nye family. 3 years of painstaking effort cannot be wasted. Nye Tian, just you wait. Nye Santong roared in his heart. Big brother Nye Tian, wait for me. Ninth sister Nye Yuro was petrified for a long time, and finally reacted. Her little face was filled with joy, and she ran after him. Just as Nye Tian returned to his room, someone knocked on the door. "Ninth sister, come in." Before Nye Yuro could speak, Nye Tian had already guessed who she was. "Big brother Nye Tian, how did you know it was me?" Nye Yuro walked in, her little face flushed, revealing a little girl's free spirit. "If I want to know, I know." Nye Tian smiled faintly. This was the first time he had met a family member of this life, and he wanted to appear as calm as possible. He said, "Ninth sister, what business do you have with me?" Nye Yuro put her hands behind her back, seeming a little embarrassed. She said mischievously, "Big brother Nye Tian, now that you become the patriarch, can I look for you?" Nye Tian smiled speechlessly. This little girl was young, but she had a lot of thoughts. "Of course you can look for me, but you must have a reason for looking for me." Nye Tian smiled faintly. Nye Yuro was slightly startled and suddenly became serious. "Big brother Nye Tian, thank you. If it weren't for you, Yuro would have been engaged to that fool of the Ba family. I am a patriarch, this is what I should do." Nye Tian smiled faintly, but he was curious. Did the 9-year-old Nye Yuro know what engagement meant? No matter what, Ro, still has to thank big brother Nye Tian. Nye Yuro nodded. She felt that the current Nye Tian was different from before. 3 years ago, Nye Yuro and Nye Tian were very close. At that time, she was only a 6-year-old girl. She remembered that Nye Tian was as kind and amiable as he was now. But after Nye Tian's Yuan meridians were destroyed, he began to abandon himself, and his temper became violent. This made Nye Yuro feel afraid. Now, the kind Nye Tian was back, and he gave her a different feeling. In addition to his kindness, there was also a sense of domineering confidence. Nye Tian had something on his mind. After talking with Nye Yuro for a while, he let her leave. In the room, only Nye Tian was left. Moang City's martial meet. Half a month's time is enough. Nye Tian's mouth curled into a smile. Moyang City's martial meet was held once every 3 years. It was a martial meet between the major clans of Moyang City. At the same time, it would decide the rankings of the major clans for the next 3 years. The reason why the Nye clan could be ranked as one of the 3 major clans of Moyang City was because of the martial meet 3 years ago. Nye Tian won first place. This time's martial meet would start in half a month. Although it wasn't much time, to Nye Tian, it was more than enough. Nye Tian took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and started to inspect his body. After a long time, he let out a long breath of turbid air, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. My 9 Yuan meridians have already awakened, but almost all of them are destroyed. There are cracks all over the Yuan meridians, and a few of them are even broken. How can these Yuan meridians store elemental energy? But the most troublesome thing is the poison in the Yuan meridians. The poison has already penetrated deep into the meridians, and the 9 Yuan meridians have turned black. If I don't detoxify it, the 9 Yuan meridians will be completely destroyed. At that time, even a Tier 9 Pill Emperor would be helpless. Nye Tian let out a bitter laugh. This body was even worse than he had imagined. Chapter 6. Inside the room, Nye Tian examined his Dantian internally, his expression becoming aghast. I didn't expect that the primordial starstone really reincarnated together with me. Furthermore, it is already completely fused with my body, seemingly becoming my 10th essence meridian. Nye Tian discovered that inside his Dantian's Qi Si, other than the 9 damaged essence meridians, there was still a 10th essence meridian. All martial artists only had 9 essence meridians. This was common knowledge of the martial path. Every time an essence meridian awakened, an essence meridian realm martial artist strength would increase by 1 level. But the current Nye Tian actually had the 10th essence meridian. Very strange. Nye Tian recalled that when he dodged Nye Santong's attack previously, that mysterious power in his body came from the 10th essence meridian. The 10th essence meridian was different from the other 9 essence meridians. It did not have any essence energy aura, but it gave people an almost surging feeling, as if a terrifying power was hidden within. The 10th essence meridian, it's the primordial starstone. Nye Tian felt the familiar aura within the 10th essence meridian and was abnormally excited. The primordial starstone was obtained by Nye Tian in the Heaven Realm's #1 forbidden land in his previous life, the Darksea Galaxy. Nye Tian was the Heaven Realm's #1 war god in his previous life. He had an arrogant nature and acted crazily. He inadvertently learned that the Heaven Realm's #1 forbidden land, the Darksea Galaxy, hid the secret to breaking through to the Heavenly Emperor realm and advancing to the deity realm. Hence, he ventured into the Darksea Galaxy alone. On the trip to the Darksea Galaxy, Nye Tian slaughtered the 9 guardian magic beasts of the Darksea Galaxy and finally entered the bottom of the galaxy, stepping into the legendary Darksea Divine Palace. In the Divine Palace's core protection Grand Array, he obtained a piece of stone, the primordial star stone. Nye Tian was abnormally excited and left the Darksea Divine Palace with the primordial star stone. After the primordial star stone was taken away by Nye Tian, the Darksea Divine Palace collapsed, and the Darksea Galaxy directly disappeared. After obtaining the primordial star stone, Nye Tian researched day and night, but the results made him incomparably disappointed. He practically exhausted all methods, but still could not open the primordial star stone. Nye Tian was very depressed. After so much effort and almost losing his life, he still did not find the secret to advancing to the deity realm, only obtaining a useless stone. Although he could not open the primordial star stone, Nye Tian could feel that there was a life within it, and there was an abnormally strong life energy. He had been feeding the origin star stone with his blood essence every day, and he could sense that the life within it was growing bit by bit. He had thought that he would be able to open the origin star stone with this method, but he had not expected that Luo Xian would betray him at the crucial moment and die a tragic death on the night of their wedding. Primordial star stone, Tian can rebirth. He had a feeling that perhaps it was the origin starstones that had brought him back to life 100 years after he had been reborn. What in the world is origin starstone? Even more puzzled, Tian sent his divine sense into his 10th meridian. Ah! In the next moment, Tian suddenly screamed. He suddenly realized that he had entered another world. This is... Shocked, Tian calmed his mind and started to carefully sense the world in front of him. Tian was surrounded by a vast, boundless universe, in which countless dim, distant starlight could be seen flickering at the edge of the darkness. This was a lifeless world. It was like a giant beast that had been asleep for 10,000 years. Tian was even more shocked. His breathing became heavier. At this moment, a loud voice resounded in the void. Eternal chaos, star river domain. 9 heavens river endless stars. Star power, the origin of power. Gathering star power, supreme of eternity. The thunderous voice echoed out in Tian's ears. The shock in his heart was indescribable. Star River Domain must be the name of this world. The so-called 9 heavens river means that the Star River Domain is formed by 9 heavens. But what does the star power in the voice refer to? And it says that the star power is the origin of power? What does it mean? Forcing himself to calm down, Tian began to have doubts. He knew that the reason why he could enter the Star River Domain was because of the Spirit Stone. The Spirit Stone had already fused with him and became his 10th Yuan meridian. Tian could enter the Star River Domain at any time. With doubts in his mind, Tian continued to sense the world in front of him. Star River Domain open. Domain Origin Array activate. At this moment, the void around him once again roared. To his astonishment, Tian discovered that an enormous spell formation was standing at the center of the starry river. Like a cornerstone that guarded heaven and earth, it emanated wisps of an ancient, profound aura that seemed to have existed in heaven and earth since time immemorial. Domain Origin Array. The sound of the array roared in his ears. Tian couldn't help but change his expression. The Domain Origin Array slowly activated, emitting an ancient roar. The entire Star River Domain immediately operated together with the array. In an instant, the originally dark and chaotic Star River Domain suddenly shone, and countless stars became bright and dazzling, adorning the boundless void. The scene in front of him was extremely beautiful, and the surroundings were filled with soft starlight, causing Tian to be shocked to the point of being speechless. Boom! In the next moment, in the center of the Domain Origin Array, an earth-shaking sound rang out. The whole world shook as if it was being pried. Tian looked around. In the center of the Domain Origin Array, a huge pillar that connected heaven and earth rose from the ground, like a tree of life gushing out from the ground, growing wildly towards the sky. Spirit Stone, Tian's whole body trembled inexplicably, and his heart almost stopped at this moment. He suddenly realized that the giant pillar that suddenly appeared in the center of the Domain Origin Array was the Spirit Stone. The Spirit Stone grew wildly towards the starry sky, and in the blink of an eye, it had connected heaven and earth. Wherever Tian's divine sense reached, he could no longer sense the end of the Spirit Stone. Searching along the Spirit Stone, Tian immediately found that the Star River Domain really had obvious divisions, which were divided into 9 layers of star field, which was the 9 heavens river. It really is the 9 heavens river. After a long time, Tian calmed down a little and began to carefully observe the Spirit Stone. The Spirit Stone was engraved with simple and unadorned spirit patterns. The spirit pattern lines were fine and complex and seemed to contain a very mysterious aura of a formation. It seems to be some kind of sealed power. Tian also had a deep understanding of spirit array seals in his previous life. He immediately recognized that the spirit patterns on the Spirit Stone were some kind of complicated seal. I also had a deep understanding of seals in my previous life, but I have never seen such a complicated seal. The power hidden in it must be very amazing. Perhaps it is already beyond my imagination. Tian sensed the seal on the Spirit Stone, but except for the frightening power, he could not detect any other aura. Just when he was surprised, a voice sounded above the void again. Domain Origin Array, guard the 9 heavens river of the Star River. Spirit Stone, seal the power of 900 billion stars. The power of stars, the origin of power, shatter the void, destroy the sky. The power of 100,000 stars, the power can shake a mountain. The power of 1,000,000 stars, the power can destroy the earth. The power of 10 million stars, the power can destroy the sky. The power of 100 million stars, the power of 1,000,000,000 stars. Chapter 7. Nietian, who was shocked on the spot, stood there in a daze for a long time before finally calming down slowly. Could it be that the power to break through to the heavenly emperor realm and advance to the deity realm is really hidden inside the primordial starstone? Nietian muttered to himself, his face still having a lingering shock. In his previous life, Nietian already reached peak 9th level heavenly emperor. At that time, he also did not have the power to destroy the void of heaven and earth, shattering the void and destroying the firmament. Only the true gods of the legends had this kind of power. Primordial star stone, sealing the power of 900 billion stars. I must let the power of stars awaken all. Thinking up to here, Nietian's expression became agitated. The primordial star stone already fused into one with him, turning into the 10th essence meridian in his body. If he could let the power of stars awaken all the 900 billion stars on the primordial star stone, then Nietian's strength would absolutely be unprecedentedly powerful. At that time, forget about whatever great Emperor Danite. Even if the divine world's 9 emperors joined hands, they would also not be enough to be trampled by him. How in the world to awaken the power of stars? Nietian was very excited, but a thorny problem appeared. He looked at the power of stars on the primordial star stone, but did not know how to start. He was already certain now that the spirit patterns on the primordial star stone were the sealed 900 billion stars power. But these spirit patterns were all gray in color at this time. Clearly, the power was not unsealed. 9 heavenly rivers, 900 billion stars, could it be? Suddenly, Nietian raised his head and glanced at the glittering stars that filled the sky, and a bold conjecture appeared in his heart. Could it be that these stars that filled the sky were the secret to awakening the power of stars? With the idea, Nietian immediately put it into action. He sat cross-legged and sensed the star closest to him. Just as his mind entered the star, a star spirit pattern on the primordial star stone seemed to be summoned and suddenly brightened. The power of the first star awakened. A voice sounded out in his mind, startling Nietian into a daze. Immediately, he steadied his mind. Rumble. A star awakened. The berserk power of stars was like a ball of blazing fire, shuttling through the meridians in Nietian's body. In an instant, Nietian felt as if his entire body was about to be burned. The intense pain of being burned by raging flames spread throughout his body, and he couldn't help but let out a cry. Wisps of star power entered Nietian's body like a wild beast, battering against his Dantian region's sea of energy. In the next moment, the star energy charged at the damaged Yuan meridian, and the pain was actually several times more intense than before. Awesome. Nietian's face was ferocious as he growled in a low voice. He faintly felt that his body seemed to be undergoing a transformation, as if he could break out of his cocoon and become a butterfly in the next moment, rising from the ashes and rising from the ashes. What a powerful strength! Cold sweat covered Nietian's forehead. He could feel that the 9 damaged Yuan meridians in his body were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye under the impact of the star energy. At the same time, the 10th origin meridian formed from the origin star stones had become much stronger, and the power within it had become even stronger. Gradually, the star energy became even more violent, and Nietian's Dantian sea of energy felt as if it was about to be torn apart. His body was enduring intense pain that pierced through his heart. Wisps of star energy spread out from Nietian's body, forming a faint halo around him. Persevere, I must persevere. At the last moment, Nietian clenched his teeth and used his strong willpower to resist the intense pain. No matter how his body was drenched in sweat, he didn't give up. This was the first time he had fused with the star energy, and the process was definitely incomparably painful. After an unknown period of time, Nyetion slowly felt that the star energy in his body was gradually becoming gentle, no longer as violent as before. Instead, it was like the spring rain, endless and gentle like water, slowly flowing and nourishing the meridians in his body. After a period of time, Nyetion could completely control the star energy, and a joyful smile appeared on his handsome face. He looked inside his body and was shocked to find that the 9 damaged yuan meridians had actually been completely healed under the washing of the star energy. The 9 yuan meridians were no longer damaged, and even the most severely broken yuan meridians had been completely healed. More importantly, Nyetion's 9 yuan meridians seemed to be faintly glowing with starlight. Although it was dim and faintly discernible, it really existed. The star energy is really powerful. It's just the star energy, but it can actually heal 9 damaged yuan meridians. Nyetion couldn't contain the ecstasy in his heart as he muttered to himself, gathering the power of the stars, the supreme being of the ages. It seemed that the mysterious voice in the space was right. If he could really awaken the 900 billion star energy, he would definitely become the supreme being of the ages. Nyetion finally understood the meaning of this sentence. If he could awaken the 900 billion star energy in the raw star stone, he would definitely become the supreme being of the ages. After awakening the first star energy, Nyetion quickly calmed down and tried to sense the second star energy. But to his disappointment, this time, the raw star stone star energy did not sense anything. Looks like I was anxious. My strength isn't enough, and I'm unable to stimulate the awakening of the star energy. Since the raw star stone has already become mine, why would I need to be anxious for now? There's plenty of time in the future. Would I still be afraid of not being able to awaken the star energy? Nyetion stood up and was not disappointed. Instead, he smiled calmly. The him in his previous life was already a peak 9th level heavenly emperor existence. He understood best that on the path of martial Tao, impatience was the most taboo. As the saying went, more haste, less speed. The more agitated one was, the more it affected the purity of one's martial Tao heart. Only by having a pure martial Tao heart could one climb to the highest peak. Nyetion came out of the starry river domain. His entire person's demeanor was refreshed. His entire body's aura became swift and fierce, akin to an unsheathed sharp sword, revealing its edge. He observed the 10th essence meridian once more and saw a speck of starlight flickering. That was the first star that he awakened. Even though it was just the power of one star, Nyetion had a feeling that the power of the 10th essence meridian was absolutely even more terrifying than the power of the other 9 essence meridians combined. 9 essence meridians repaired. The present me has already recovered the strength of 9th level essence meridian. Looks pretty good. Nyetion inspected the 9 essence meridians within his dantian. The corners of his mouth curled up into a confident arc. Even though the previous Nyetion had all 9 essence meridians awakened, he was unfortunately severely injured and only had the strength of a 3rd level essence meridian martial artist at most. When encountering the 9th level essence meridian Ba Xiang, he could only be hung up and beaten. If the current Nyetion encountered Ba Xiang again, there would only be 2 words, her. But in the next instant, Nyetion's brows furrowed slightly, and he muttered, "The essence meridian's damage has already been repaired, but the poison within has not been purged. Next, I have to think of a way to detoxify it." The power of stars directly helped Nyetion repair the damage to his essence meridians, but the poison within them was not purged. Nye Santong, as a member of the Nye family and my uncle, you actually dared to poison me just for the sake of a mere patriarch position. You deserve to die. Thinking of the person who had poisoned him, Nyetion's face turned cold. Nyetion was the patriarch of the family and Nye Santong's nephew. Nye Santong had actually taken advantage of his severe injuries to poison him. His ruthlessness was evident. Nye Tian would definitely not let Nye Santong go, but now was not the best time to make a move. Chapter 8. Nye Tian wanted to kill Nye Santong, not because he coveted the position of patriarch, but because of what he had done. As an elder and a subordinate, it was too much for him to kill a junior and the clan head. To be honest, Nye Tian didn't care about the position of patriarch at all. If anyone wanted it, Nye Tian would offer it up with both hands. However, Nye Tian wasn't willing to use such despicable means to snatch it. Nye Tian did not intend to deal with Nye Santong immediately because his strength was not strong enough. Nye Santong had been in charge of the Nye family for 3 years, so he definitely had many loyal subordinates. Moreover, he was one of the few origin spirit realm experts in the Nye clan. If he were to be forcefully killed, it might not necessarily be a good thing for the Nye clan. More importantly, the poison in Nye Tian's body could not be delayed for even a moment. The longer it was delayed, the harder it would be to deal with. The poison in my Yuan meridian is the poison of the soul eater flower. Moreover, the poison has already penetrated deep into my Yuan meridian. If I want to detoxify it, I will need at least tier 2 or even tier 3 medicinal herbs or spirit pills. Sensing his Yuan meridian, Nye Tian immediately knew what kind of poison he was afflicted with. In his previous life, Nye Tian was an all-rounder in cultivation. Apart from his martial Dao cultivation reaching 9th level Heavenly Emperor, he had dabbled in pill refinement, artifact refining, and spirit formations. Especially in the Dao of pill refinement, he was already a tier 9 pill emperor, and he himself was one of the 7 great elders of the Heaven Realm Alchemist Guild. In the entire Heaven Realm, the number of people who could match up to Nye Tian in alchemy could be counted on one hand. Now that he knew about the poison in the Yuan meridian, Nye Tian laughed bitterly. To cure the poison of the soul-devouring flower, I need the 7-leaf meridian cleansing grass, the demonic god flower, the blood spirit fruit, or a second stage would attribute spirit core. Does Moyang City have these things? At this moment, Nye Tian was in Moyang City, a small and remote city among the 3,000 small worlds under the day-night divine domain. He remembered that in the whole of Moyang City, there was not a single alchemist, no herb manor, and no alchemist guild. These few kinds of medicinal herbs that he wanted were all second-tier medicinal herbs. Although it was very common, it would be difficult to find it in Moyang City. I really don't know where Nye Santong's poison pill came from. Nye Tian muttered, "Let's go to the market first and try our luck. If it really doesn't work, we'll go to the shattering Cloud Mountain Range." Nye Tian sighed. If he really couldn't buy the herbs, he could only go to the shattering Cloud Mountain Range. The Soul Eater Flower's poison was a slow-acting poison. The longer it dragged on, the stronger the poison would be. Therefore, he had to detoxify it as soon as possible. A moment later, Nye Tian's figure appeared in the Nye family's finance hall. Since he was going to the market square, he needed money. He came to the finance hall to get money. "Look, the family head is here. Hurry up and make way for the family head." Lord Patriarch was really overbearing in the assembly hall today. He slapped the Ba family's young master's face and even made him kneel. I was just watching from the side. It was so King satisfying. That's right. I even heard that even the Ba clan's head steward knelt down in front of the Patriarch. Huh, who does the Ba clan think they are? How dare they challenge our Nye clan and propose marriage to a fool? Aren't they courting death? There were many Nye clan disciples gathered in the finance hall. When they saw Nye Tian's arrival, they all made way and discussed in low voices. After forcefully countering the Ba clan's provocation, Nye Tian's status in the Nye clan skyrocketed, and he became the hero who saved the Nye clan. Everyone's gaze towards Nye Tian was filled with awe. Nye Tian ignored these people and walked straight into the finance hall. The finance hall master, Lianshuan, was short and fat with a fierce face. One look, and it was obvious that he wasn't a good person. He wasn't a member of the Nye clan. The reason he could become the finance hall master was because he had a good brother-in-law, Nye Santong. At this moment, Lianshuan was leaning on his chair with his eyes narrowed, as if he didn't see Nye Tian's arrival. Lianshuan had long heard about the incident in the assembly hall, but he didn't believe it. He felt that it was definitely the Nye clan's elders who personally beat up the Ba clan. Nye Tian was trash with destroyed Yuan meridians. How could he dare to beat up the Ba clan's young master, let alone make him kneel? You're the finance hall master? Nye Tian glanced at Lianshuan with a gloomy expression. He was the patriarch, yet this person was so arrogant. It was obvious that he didn't put him in his eyes. Yo, patriarch! Lianshuan's narrowed eyes opened with a very surprised expression. He put on a fake smile and said, Patriarch seems to be very free. Are you here to inspect the finance hall? In my opinion, the patriarch's body is weak. It's more important for you to recuperate and not run around. You guys, hurry up and bring the patriarch away. Lianshuan said and waved his hand to the few people outside. But the people outside retreated one after another, their faces green with fright. They all knew how tyrannical Nye Tian was. At this time, Lianshuan actually dared to poke the tiger's butt. It could only be said that his courage was commendable. Nye Tian's face darkened, but he didn't want to be entangled with Lianshuan. Cold, he said, give me 100 gold coins. Yo, 100 gold coins. Lianshuan let out a weird cry. He glanced at Nye Tian and reprimanded. You are a piece of trash. Why do you need so much money? Trash. These two words were unusually ear-piercing. You call me trash? Nye Tian looked at Lianshuan, and the corner of his mouth curled into a playful smile. Oomph. Lianshuan sneered and suddenly stood up. Your Yuan meridians are destroyed, and you don't have any strength left. If you aren't trash, then what are you? Lianshuan's aura was very strong, as if the person standing in front of him was not the patriarch but a servant. Nye Tian shook his head slightly. He didn't want to make a move, but now it seemed that someone was blind. He had no choice but to make a move. Lianshuan suddenly felt a chill, and his heart inexplicably shuddered. Pa! In the next moment, a crisp slap sounded. Lianshuan didn't have any reaction, and half of his face swelled up. Lianshuan's small eyes widened, as if he was in a dream. He looked at Nye Tian in disbelief. Ouch! When he felt the burning pain on his face, he let out a weird cry and pointed at Nye Tian. Little bastard, you dare to hit me. Do you know who I am? Pa! Without waiting for Lianshuan to finish speaking, the second slap sounded. Nye Tian didn't have any interest in knowing who Lianshuan was. Little bastard, I am the deacons. Lianshuan roared, but he could only say half of what he wanted to say. Pa! 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 Crisp slapping sounds rose and fell. Lianshuan didn't have the chance to finish his words. After continuously slapping more than 10 times, Nye Tian felt that even his hand was hurting. Only then did he stop. He looked at Lianshuan with a bit of sympathy and said faintly, You can tell me who you are now. Right now, half of Lianshuan's face was swollen up high, and blood could be seen on his face. He looked at Nye Tian in fear, then suddenly cried out, I am the deacon's brother-in-law. Nye Tian went into a daze for a moment. Then soon after, he smiled and said faintly, Then you indeed deserve to be beaten. He finally understood why Lianshuan, this kind of dog slave who bullied others, could become the finance hall master. So it was because he had a good brother-in-law. Since Lianshuan was Nye Santong's brother-in-law, then it wasn't wrong for him to be beaten up. If Nye Tian knew about Lianshuan's identity in advance, the slap he gave Lianshuan would definitely be even more ruthless. Right now, the people outside were all stupefied as they sucked in a breath of cold air. After a moment, someone finally couldn't help but laugh secretly. Lianshuan's appearance of hugging onto a pig's head and crying bitterly was truly laughable. This person looked down on the family head and challenged the family head's dignity. Does he deserve to be beaten up? Nye Tian raised his head and looked at everyone with a playful gaze. He deserves to be beaten up. He really deserves to be beaten up. He deserves to be beaten to death. Everyone came back to their senses and nodded their heads. Lianshuan was beaten up, but no one expressed sympathy, because he relied on his identity as the finance hall master to bully quite a few people. Chapter 9. Is there anyone from the finance department among you? Nye Tian's expression softened as he asked in a clear voice with a faint smile. No one knew what Nye Tian was going to do next. After a long time, a young martial artist in his 20s stood out and said with a trembling voice, replying patriarch, "This little one is Nye Min from the finance department." Nye Tian looked at Nye Min's trembling appearance and couldn't help but smile. "I'm not a bloodthirsty monster. Is there a need to be so afraid?" Nye Min, very good. Nye Tian nodded and said, "From now on, you are the new finance department hallmaster. Now, bring me 100 gold coins." Nye Min was stunned for a long time before he reacted. His face was filled with ecstasy as he quickly ran into the inner hall and took out 100 gold coins. Nye Tian took the gold coins and left. As for the crying Lianshuan, there would be someone to deal with him. Damn, he became the finance department hallmaster just like that. If I had known, I would have stood out. After Nye Tian left, everyone had a face full of regret. Nye Tian, this patriarch, did things cleanly and without the slightest bit of sloppiness. Moreover, the current him indeed had the authority to dismiss the finance department hallmaster. After all, the great elder Nye Yuan was on his side. Leaving the Nye mansion, Nye Tian went straight to Moyang City's marketplace. It was currently noon, and the market was bustling with noise and excitement. It was packed with people. All kinds of hawking and arguing noises mixed together like a grand march. Nye Tian walked around the market for a while, but he still couldn't find the herbs he wanted. Most of the stalls in the marketplace were selling first-grade herbs, first-grade spiritual weapons, and occasionally some first-grade spirit dawn or low-grade spirit beast cubs, as well as other miscellaneous items. Nye Tian guessed that Nye Santong's poison dawn might have been obtained from the marketplace. AI. Nye Tian sighed lightly and said with a bitter smile, "Looks like I can only make a trip to the shattering Cloud Mountain Range." The Soul Eater flower's poison could not be delayed. Nye Tian had to go to the shattering Cloud Mountain Range to find the herbs himself. Just as Nye Tian was about to turn around and leave, his gaze was suddenly attracted by a broken sword on a stall. Only half of the broken sword remained. The sword was dark in color and emitted an ancient and ruthless aura. This aura is so familiar. Carefully sensing the remnant sword intent in the broken sword, the corners of Nye Tian's mouth suddenly curled up, and his expression instantly became complicated. "My old friend, it's actually you." After a long time, Nye Tian's eyes became blazing, as if a raging fire was burning in his heart. Nye Tian was too familiar with the broken sword in front of him. It was the sword he used in the Heaven Realm, Sword Absolute Heaven Slash. When Nye Tian was fighting against the strongest enemy in his life, the Emperor of the Demon World, Qi Wu Shao Tian, the sword Absolute Heaven Slash was cut in half by the Demon World's Shao Long demonic blade. It was then lost in the abyss of the Heaven Realm, its whereabouts unknown. Nye Tian never thought that after 100 years of rebirth, he would encounter the sword Absolute Heaven Slash again. Involuntarily, Nye Tian picked up the broken sword, and a familiar yet strange aura surged in his heart. Suddenly, he felt that things remained the same, but people had changed and the world had changed. "It has been 100 years, my old friend, but your aura is still familiar. This time, I, Nye Tian, will not let you fall into the abyss again. Since I have been reborn and met you, then the broken sword should also be reborn. Sword Absolute Heaven Slash. I will definitely let you wash away all the dirt and let you shine again." Nye Tian stroked the broken sword, and the blurriness in his eyes gradually disappeared, replaced by extreme firmness. The stall owner was a white-haired old man. Seeing Nye Tian's expression, he was stunned for a moment, and his eyes turned, and he said with a smile, "This young master really has a good eye. This broken sword is an ancient divine artifact. Before it was broken, it had once killed the demon race's demonic dragon. This old man has studied it for many years, and so far, I have not been able to identify what material it is made of." Listening to the old man's narration, Nye Tian smiled slightly. He could naturally tell that the old man was purely making up nonsense and was only trying to raise the price. However, this old man had some ability to make up stories. Although the sword Absolute Heaven Slash was not an ancient divine artifact, it had really killed the demon race's demonic dragon. And the material used to forge the sword Absolute Heaven Slash was the star core that Nietian had obtained from a fallen star. He gave the star core to the Heaven Realm's #1 weapon refiner, Tiangong, who spent a lot of effort and finally completed it after a year. When the sword Absolute Heaven Slash was born, the sword light that soared to the sky pierced the 9 heavens, shocking the entire Heaven Realm, and was known as the #1 of the Heaven Realm's 10 famous swords. Tiangong had once said that the sword Absolute Heaven Slash was the proudest work of his life. Unfortunately, 100 years later, the once #1 famous sword in the Heaven Realm had actually been reduced to a street stall in the 3,000 small worlds. It really made people sigh. How much is it? Nietian did not want to talk nonsense with the stall owner and directly asked. The stall owner smiled slyly and said, "If this sword is not damaged, it is at least a 3rd-rank spiritual weapon. Seeing that young master really likes it, I will sell it to young master at the price of a 1st-rank spiritual weapon. I will take 100 silver coins from young master. How about it?" After the stall owner finished speaking, his sharp, small eyes sized up Nietian. "All right." Nietian smiled indifferently and was very straightforward. Obviously, this old man did not know what grade of spiritual weapon the sword Absolute Heaven Slash was. The sword Absolute Heaven Slash was forged by the #1 weapon refiner in the Heaven Realm using the star core, and was known as the #1 sword in the Heaven Realm. It was a genuine 9th-rank Emperor weapon. If the sword Absolute Heaven Slash was only a 3rd-rank spiritual weapon, how could it kill the demon race's demonic dragon? Most importantly, the sword Absolute Heaven Slash was once Nietian's sword. Not to mention 100 silver coins. Even if it was 1,000,000 gold coins, he would not hesitate. Seeing that Nietian was so straightforward, the stall owner could not help but regret. If he had known earlier, he would have asked for more. However, he was still trustworthy and did not regret it. With a smile on his face, he said, "Young master, this old man still has other spiritual weapons here. I wonder if young master is interested?" Nietian glanced at the stall and saw broken spiritual weapons, rusted pill cauldrons, broken broadswords, broken battle armors, and even half of a chessboard. It turned out that this old man specialized in dealing with broken spiritual weapons. Nietian spread out his spiritual power and felt the spiritual weapons in front of him one by one. He was disappointed and did not find anything. "Thank you, old mister." Nietian did not want to delay any longer. He took out 10 gold coins and handed them over. 100 silver coins was equivalent to 10 gold coins. The common currency in the 3,000 small worlds was a variety of metal coins. 1 gold, 10 silver, 1 silver, 10 copper, 1 copper, 10 iron. After buying the sword Absolute Heaven Slash, Nietian was in a very good mood and planned to immediately go to the splitting Cloud Mountain range. Nietian. Just as he turned around, a voice suddenly sounded behind him. The voice was very pleasant, like the sound of nature, but at the same time, it was filled with a cold taste. Nietian stopped in his tracks and turned around. The figure that entered his eyes made him slightly startled. The girl in front of him was about 15 or 16 years old. Her beautiful face could shake the world, and her beauty could topple a city. She stood there, her whole body emitting a cold aura, like a peerless snow lotus on an ice mountain. Nietian did not expect that there would be such a peerless girl in this remote city of the 3,000 small worlds. Rushi. In his mind, he quickly gathered information about the girl in front of him. Nietian shouted out her name. The girl in front of him was called Rushi, the beloved daughter of Moyang City's city lord. Chapter 10. Nietian could hear the bitterness in Rushi's voice and immediately felt a bit dazed. He did not remember having any emotional connection with Rushi, and the two of them had only met each other a few times. Could it be that she has always been secretly in love with me? Looking at the picturesque Rushi, Nietian had a complacent guess. "You were waiting for me?" After calming down, Nietian asked. "I've been waiting for you." Rushi replied. "Waited for me for 3 years." Nietian's interest was piqued, and he could not hide his excitement. Waited for you for 3 years. Mo Rushi's beautiful eyes flickered, and soon after, she revealed an even colder expression and said, 3 years ago, I lost to you in Moyang City's martial meet. These 3 years I've been training hard, and in this year's martial meet, I must win against you. Mo Rushi said firmly, and Nye Tian was confused. You want to defeat me? Not secretly in love with me. Nye Tian swallowed his saliva, and there was a bit of disappointment on his face. Although the previous Nye Tian had some talent, he did not have such great charm to make Mo Rushi secretly in love with him for 3 years. In the martial meet 3 years ago, as the #1 genius of Moyang City, Nye Tian was in the limelight and easily won the martial meet, while Mo Rushi was ranked second. In these 3 years, there was not a day that Mo Rushi did not think of defeating Nye Tian. But Nye Tian seemed to have disappeared without a trace and never appeared in public again in Moyang City. Mo Rushi naturally did not expect that Nye Tian had been drowning his sorrows in alcohol for the past 3 years. Everyone said that Nye Tian had become trash, but Mo Rushi did not believe it. She did not believe that the young man who defeated her would become trash. Secretly in love with what? Mo Rushi was startled for a moment, and her face immediately revealed the cuteness of a curious young girl. Nothing, I was thinking too much. Nye Tian smiled faintly. You shameless. Mo Rushi was extremely smart, and immediately thought of something, and her face could not help but turn red. Feeling guilty, Nye Tian chuckled and stared at Mo Rushi with a frown. You're also an Origin Meridian martial artist? Mo Rushi was still thinking about how Nye Tian had told her that she had a crush on him. She blushed and shouted, shameless bastard. So what if I'm an Origin Meridian cultivator? I can still defeat you. At this time, a lot of people had gathered around them. They recognized Nye Tian and Mo Rushi and began to discuss among themselves. Isn't this Miss Mo? Why are you arguing with someone? Who is this youth? He looks somewhat familiar. I think he's the good-for-nothing patriarch of the Nye clan. That's right, it's the useless head of the Nye family, Nye Tian. He hasn't appeared for several years. I thought he was dead. Hearing the unbearable comments from the crowd, Nye Tian shook his head slightly, then turned to Mo Rushi and said, Mo Rushi, you were already at the 8th level of Origin Meridian 3 years ago, but now that 3 years have passed, your strength is only at the 9th level of Origin Meridian. You've been stuck at the 9th level of Origin Meridian for at least 2 years, right? Nye Tian didn't care about other people at all. He didn't care what they said. He stared at Mo Rushi and used his mental power to sense the latter. Immediately, his expression changed. A shocking name appeared in his mind. 9 Heaven's Divine Phoenix. Mo Rushi saw that Nye Tian was staring at her, and her beautiful face stiffened. She said coldly, so what if I am? What does it have to do with you? Nye Tian adjusted his emotions and said with a solemn expression, I feel that there's a problem with your origin spirit. I can help you, but there are too many people here. Can we find a place where there's no one around? I want to, shameless bastard. What do you want to do with me? I want to find a place where there's no one around. Without waiting for Nye Tian to finish speaking, Mo Rushi suddenly interrupted him, her face turning even redder. I just want to chat with you. Nye Tian was immediately speechless and said helplessly, I really don't understand what is going on in this little lass's head. Shameless bastard, what is there to chat with you and me? With so many people looking at them, Mo Rushi's face turned red all the way to her ears. The surrounding people all crossed their arms and had a happy expression, preparing to watch a good show. Nye Tian was truly speechless. Mo Rushi kept calling him shameless bastard. It really made it hard for him to explain himself. After pausing for a moment, Nye Tian said, Mo Rushi, for the past 2 years, your lower abdomen has been in constant burning pain every day, as if it's being roasted by a raging fire. Especially when the sun is burning fiercely, the burning pain would be several times more intense. Nye Tian said a baffling sentence. Nye Tian is indeed a trash, starting to talk nonsense again. Truly shameless, he doesn't even blush when talking nonsense. This kind of person shouldn't be alive. What a waste of air. The surrounding people thought that Nye Tian was deliberately mystifying things and started to ridicule him. However, Mo Rushi was dumbfounded. Her emotions fluctuated, and a trace of disbelief flashed across her beautiful face. Her pair of beautiful eyes stared at Nye Tian, releasing a light of surprise, clearly saying, "How did you know? Can we have a chat now?" Nye Tian smiled faintly, the corner of his mouth curling up. Mo Rushi hesitated for a moment, then said, "Come with me." "Okay." Nye Tian nodded and followed Mo Rushi. Just as the two were about to leave, a harsh and violent voice suddenly rang out. "Nye Tian, you really have the guts to walk out of the Nye family's gate." As the violent voice fell, the crowd dispersed, and a familiar figure appeared. Ba Ziang. Ba Ziang strode over, exuding a violent rage from his body. A sinister smile hung on his face, and a pair of vicious eyes stared at Nye Tian. Feeling the violent energy from Ba Ziang, the crowd subconsciously stepped back and whispered, "It's the young master of the Ba family, Ba Ziang." The Ba family and the Nye family are sworn enemies. Is he going to beat up Nye Tian? This is a public place, and no matter what, Nye Tian is still the family head of the Nye family. I remember now, the young master of the Ba family beat up Nye Tian yesterday, and I heard that it wasn't a light beating either. Why did Nye Tian suddenly come out today? It seems like he hasn't been beaten up enough. Ha! Nye Tian is the useless family head of the Nye family. Meeting the young master of the Ba family, he's going to be beaten up badly. At this time, the news of the Ba family's failed marriage proposal has not spread, so people still don't know about Nye Tian's wonderful performance this morning. But it won't be long before the Nye family spreads this news, and by then, the people of Moyang City will know the power of the Nye family. Yo, isn't this the young master of the Ba family? How impressive! Is it that your face no longer hurts and your knees are no longer soft? Nye Tian glanced at Ba Ziang with a face full of ridicule. Behind Ba Ziang were a few disciples of the Ba family, and they all had ferocious expressions on their faces. As long as Ba Ziang gives the order, they will tear Nye Tian into pieces. Ba Ziang was poked at his sore spot by Nye Tian. His face twisted into a sinister smile, and he said cold, "Nye Tian, do you really think I'm afraid of you? The humiliation you've inflicted on me, I will make you pay 100-fold." In the Nye family's meeting hall, Ba Ziang chose to endure because the elders of the Nye family were there. Now, in the market, he no longer had any scruples. Chapter 11. Ba Ziang roared, and in the next moment, without any hesitation, he attacked. "I'm going to slap your face." With these words, Ba Ziang swung his huge fist towards Nye Tian's face. Thinking that he would soon be able to avenge the humiliation of kneeling in front of everyone, a perverted smile appeared on Ba Ziang's face. "Umph." Nye Tianling sneered, not even looking at Ba Ziang. Nye Tian's Yuan meridians had already recovered, and he was now at the 9th level of Yuan meridians. Ba Ziang was also at the 9th level of Yuan meridians. Generally speaking, every awakened Yuan meridian would increase a martial artist's strength by 100 gene. A martial artist at the 9th level of Yuan meridians would have the strength of 1,000 gene. But Nye Tian's Yuan meridians had been strengthened by the power of the stars, and just this point alone made his strength much higher than ordinary martial artists. In addition, Nye Tian had a 10th Yuan meridian, which was even more terrifying than the sum of his 9 Yuan meridians. Therefore, Ba Ziang's strength was at most 1,000 gene, while Nye Tian's strength was at least 4 to 5,000 gene. The two were simply not on the same level. Nye Tian raised his arm, ready to teach the arrogant Ba Ziang a lesson. But before he could make a move, a figure blocked in front of him. Mo Rushi took a step forward and swung her fist, and a whistling sound could be heard in the air. Bang! The two fists collided, and with a muffled sound, Ba Ziang took a few steps back, staggered, and fell on his butt. Mo Rushi. When the crowd saw that the one who saved Nye Tian was Mo Rushi, they were stunned. Ba Ziang got up after sitting down and looked at Mo Rushi with a venomous gaze. He roared in a deep voice, "Mo Rushi, What are you doing? Mo Rushi frowned slightly and said coldly, "This is the market. No private fights are allowed." No private fights? Ba Xiang's pupils slightly dilated as he glanced at Nie Tian and ridiculed. Mo Rushi, you're clearly protecting Nie Tian. Don't tell me you've fallen for him? If it was any other time, Ba Xiang would definitely not dare to speak to Mo Rushi like this. But at this moment, he really wanted to beat up Nie Tian, so he mocked Mo Rushi and told her to back off. Ba Xiang, what nonsense are you spouting? Mo Rushi was ashamed and angry at the same time. Seeing Mo Rushi's reaction, Nie Tian suddenly smiled and stepped forward, saying, "Ba Xiang, what does Mo Rushi liking me have to do with you? Are you jealous?" Nie Tian, you shameless bastard, don't talk nonsense. Mo Rushi was so anxious that beads of sweat appeared on her face, and she fiercely glared at Nie Tian. Nie Tian quite liked to see Mo Rushi's anxious look. It made him inexplicably happy. However, it wasn't good to make Mo Rushi cry, so he smiled faintly and said, "Oh, seems like Miss Mo doesn't like me. Then please move aside. Don't stop me from teaching some blind dogs a lesson." Nie Tian, Mo Rushi went into a daze. She was really a bit anxious now. Nie Tian took a look at Mo Rushi and smiled confidently. Collapsing stone palm. Seeing that Mo Rushi and Nie Tian had distanced themselves from each other, Ba Xiang immediately roared and immediately made his move, and he even used a martial skill. Courting death. Nie Tianling sneered, squeezed out 2 words from his mouth, and soon after, he blasted out a punch. He disdained to use any martial skills, because the martial skills that he practiced were all at least heaven rank. Once he made his move, someone would definitely die. Bang! The fist and the palm clashed, and, as if gold and stone collided, Ba Xiang was directly sent flying and smashed onto the ground. On the other hand, Nie Tian was like an old tree rooted, not moving a single inch. The strength of the two was completely not on the same level. Even if Ba Xiang used a martial skill, his strength would at most be 2,000 kilograms, not even half of Nie Tian's strength. When everyone saw the scene of Ba Xiang being sent flying, they were all dumbfounded. The trash, Nie Tian, actually beat up Ba Xiang? What is going on? Could it be that the genius, Nie Tian, from 3 years ago has returned? Everyone's gaze was extremely strange. They were all wondering if they were dreaming or not. Nie Tian, Ba Xiang's palm was dripping with blood. The bones in his palm were completely shattered. He wanted to get up, but he was actually unable to get up. Nie Tian smiled sinisterly. An eerie glint shot out from his eyes, and he walked towards Ba Xiang step by step. The other people from Ba family were all scared silly. They stood there blankly, not moving an inch. Ba Xiang, I want you to remember this moment forever. As Nie Tian walked over, his ice-cold voice rang out. He slowly raised one of his legs and abruptly stepped onto Ba Xiang's chest, just like a 1,000 kilograms boulder falling onto Ba Xiang's chest. Nie, Ba Xiang wanted to say something, but the pressure on his chest made him unable to say anything. You said that I am trash, but now that you are under my foot, aren't you even more trash than trash? Nie Tianling said coldly. The eerie coldness in his eyes intensified. Today, I will turn you into a real trash. As the ice-cold voice faded, Nie Tian suddenly exerted force on his leg. Under the enormous pressure, Ba Xiang let out a howl like a pig being slaughtered. Bang, bang, bang. Under the terrifying pressure, the elemental meridians in Ba Xiang's body broke one by one. No! Ba Xiang let out an extremely tragic howl. At this moment, his eyes were filled with incomparable despair. Nie Tian crippled his elemental meridians. Nie Tian really crippled his elemental meridians. Nie Tian turned him into a real trash. The crowd became deathly silent at this moment. They looked at Nie Tian with an additional trace of fear in their eyes. Mo Rushi, let's go. After crippling Ba Xiang's elemental meridians, Nie Tian lifted his feet and left without even looking at Ba Xiang. It was only when Tian walked past Mo Rushi that the latter finally reacted, but she still had a look of horror on her face. She never thought that Tian's methods would be so vicious. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he beat the young master of the Ba family into a trash. Tian's actions were simply insane. Under the horrified gazes of the crowd, Tian and Mo Rushi strode away. The crowd stared at them for a long time without any reaction. A moment later, the two figures appeared in the wild forest outside of Moyang City. Tian, you crippled Ba Ziang. Aren't you afraid of the Ba family's revenge? Mo Rushi was still shocked by Tian's actions and asked, Of course I'm afraid. Tian's expression was indifferent. Afraid that you still crippled him? Mo Rushi was puzzled. He should have been crippled. I've already shown mercy. Otherwise, he would be a corpse. Tian said with a serious expression. Should have been crippled? Mo Rushi was a little speechless. Tian said calmly. He should have thought of that when he insulted me and called me a piece of trash every day, when he beat me so badly that I passed out, and when the Ba clan aggressively forced the Nye clan to marry me, he said. The hatred that had accumulated in his heart for the past 3 years needed to be released, didn't he? Crippling Ba Ziang was to release the hatred in his heart. At the same time, it was a warning to the Ba family not to be too presumptuous. Mo Rushi was a little dazed. She did not know what Tian was talking about. She only saw Tian cripple Ba Ziang's elemental meridians, so she thought that Tian had gone too far. If what Tian said was true, then Ba Ziang really should have been crippled. Mo Rushi was in a daze. She suddenly thought of something and said, Tian, you beat Ba Zhang into a trash. The Nye family will definitely take revenge. You have to be careful at Moyang City's martial gathering. Careful of what? Tian smiled. Chapter 12. Ba Ziliang. Tian recalled the sinister face of a young man. Ba Ziliang was the second young master of the Ba family, and also the #1 person in the younger generation of the family. 3 years ago, in the Moyang City martial meet, Ba Ziliang lost to Tian and Mo Rushi, placing third. Who would have thought that 3 years later, Tian and Mo Rushi would be stuck at the 9th level of Origin Meridian, while Ba Ziliang was already an Origin Spirit Realm cultivator. The so-called Essence Spirit Realm martial artists were martial artists who had awakened the Essence Spirit within their bodies. There was a qualitative difference between an Essence Spirit martial artist and an Essence Vein martial artist. An Essence Spirit martial artist could make use of his Essence Spirit to achieve the external release of Essence power and attack from the air. It was extremely domineering. However, it was very difficult to awaken a primordial spirit, and it had to be done before the age of 18. However, the majority of people would only be able to reach the 9th level of Origin Meridian by the age of 30. Therefore, 90% of the people were Origin Meridian practitioners. Take the Nye clan, for example. There were hundreds of martial practitioners in the entire Nye clan, but there were less than 10 Origin Spirit Realm experts. Ba Ziliang? Let him come. Tian smiled calmly. He was very confident. Moyang City's martial meet was still half a month away. He would definitely be able to awaken his primordial spirit within this half a month. As long as he awakened his primordial spirit, he would not be afraid of Ba Ziliang. Tian no longer thought about the Ba family's matter and turned to look at Mo Rushi with a strange expression. He chuckled and said, Mo Rushi, I can't tell that you care about me. Could it be that Ba Ziang guessed correctly? Do you really like this young master? Mo Rushi was taken aback for a moment before her face turned red. She stomped her foot and said, Tian, you shameless bastard. How dare you speak such nonsense? If you talk nonsense again, this young lady will castrate you. Tian chuckled and said, That's right. Little girls should be unruly to be cute. Who would like a cold face all day long? Mo Rushi suddenly realized that she shouldn't be fooling around with Tian, so she immediately restored her cold expression and reprimanded. Shameless brat, cut the crap. Say, how do you know my lower abdomen burns every day? If your answer doesn't satisfy me, I'll kill you with my own hands. Kill me? Are you willing to do that? Tian smiled lightly. He could tell at a glance that Mo Rushi was not the kind of person who would kill at will. Although her eyes were cold, they did not have any killing intent. They were even very clear, like a newborn baby, without a trace of turbidity. This kind of person would not kill at all. You're still talking. Mo Rushi pouted. The cold image that she had just maintained was immediately replaced by shyness. All right, I won't joke with you anymore. Tian waved his hand. Recalling that he still had business to attend to, he put on a solemn expression and said, Mo Rushi, I'll ask you a few questions first. You must answer them truthfully. Seeing how serious Tian was, Mo Rushi nodded obediently. When did you reach the 9th level of Origin Meridian? Tian asked. 2.5 years ago. Mo Rushi replied with a pained expression. She had been stuck at the 9th level of Origin Meridian for 2.5 years, and this torment was truly painful. She had even once thought that her talent was too poor and that she wouldn't be able to awaken her origin spirit. 2.5 years, it should be about time. Tian murmured, then asked again, after reaching the 9th level of Origin Meridian, your lower abdomen will start to feel a burning sensation. A year later, this burning sensation will turn into a burning pain, and after that, this burning sensation will become more and more intense. Every noon, when the sun is blazing, the burning sensation will increase by several folds, right? Mo Rushi's expression instantly stiffened, because Tian was absolutely right. Her lower abdomen was initially burning, and she thought that she was about to awaken her origin spirit. But this burning sensation gradually turned into a burning pain, until it became the intense pain of being roasted by fire. That's right. From Mo Rushi's reaction, Tian knew that he was right. At the same time, he had also guessed correctly. The origin spirit in Mo Rushi's body that had yet to awaken was the 9th level supreme origin spirit, the 9 heavens godly phoenix. Tian had never imagined that there would be someone with a 9th level supreme origin spirit in this remote city of the 3,000 lesser worlds. A martial artist's origin spirit could be divided into weapon spirit, beast spirit, wood spirit, and of course, there were other variant origin spirits, such as deviant spirits, dead spirits, ghost spirits, and so on. According to the grade of aptitude, it was further divided into 1st to 9th level supreme. The higher a martial artist's origin spirit was, the higher their future achievements would be. Generally speaking, most people would awaken 1st to 3rd level origin spirits, and those who awakened 4th level origin spirits were geniuses. 5th and 6th level origin spirits were rare existences, and 7th level was already considered monstrous. As for 8th and 9th level origin spirits, they were existences of legends. Such a character, if there were no accidents, would eventually grow into a heavenly emperor powerhouse. However, 8th and 9th level origin spirits, especially 9th level origin spirits, were extremely rare, and there were only a few in the entire heaven realm. In his previous life, Tian awakened a 9th level supreme origin spirit, the 9 extreme beast. It was just that he did not know what kind of origin spirit he could awaken in this life. Tian never dreamed that he could actually encounter a 9th level supreme origin spirit in the 3,000 lesser worlds. This kind of 1 in a million chance actually happened to him. One had to admit, this dog's hit luck was huge. Tian looked at Mo Rushi. His eyes had an additional hint of seriousness as he said, Mo Rushi, you endured the 9 heaven divine phoenixes, scorching every day and could persist for 2.5 years. This perseverance is admirable. You're the only person who has defeated me. In order to be able to defeat you, any amount of pain is also worth it. Mo Rushi regained her iciness and responded with a stubborn look. Mo Rushi said so with her mouth, but she was inexplicably touched in her heart. For 2.5 years, she had been enduring the pain that Tian mentioned every day. Furthermore, every time it came to the middle of the day, the sun would be fierce and the pain would intensify. It was as if there was a ball of fire burning in her lower abdomen, simply wanting to burn her to ashes. It was really not easy for her to be able to persist. As for the words, in order to defeat Nyetian, it was merely an excuse. Whatever you say. Nyetian smiled faintly and said, I'm already certain now that your primordial spirit is the nine-heaven divine phoenix. The burning pain that you suffer every day comes from the nine-heaven divine phoenix. Let me tell you now, I can help you awaken your primordial spirit and relieve you of the burning pain that you suffer every day. Do you believe me? Can you really do it? Emorushi asked back. Although she was doubtful, she was already 70 to 80% convinced in her heart. She had never told anyone about the pain that she was suffering from. Not even her father knew about it. It was really strange that Nyetian was able to tell her about the pain that she was suffering from. Furthermore, when she saw Nyetian again, she kept having a strange feeling. She kept having the feeling that Nyetian's eyes were as deep as the sea, as if there was a huge secret that she was unable to see through. You already believe me, don't you? Nyetian smiled playfully and said, If I say that I can't do it right now, wouldn't you have to kill me? I won't kill you. Hearing Nyetian's words, Emorushi suddenly blurted out, I know, or else I wouldn't be helping you. Looking at Emorushi's anxious look, Nyetian smiled naughtily. You shameless. Emorushi felt that she had been tricked again, and her face couldn't help but turn red. Black lines appeared on Nyetian's face. It seems like I won't be able to take off the hat of shameless person. How are you going to help me? After stabilizing her emotions, Emorushi asked. She didn't want to endure the burning pain anymore. Nyetian stared at Emorushi for a long time, then suddenly walked in front of her and said, I want to take a look at your lower abdomen. Chapter 13. I'm really not a shameless person. Nyetian was afraid that Emorushi would call him a shameless person again. So he quickly explained, You haven't awakened your primordial spirit for 2.5 years, not because you're not talented, but because your talent is too good and your primordial spirit is too strong. The burning pain you suffer every day comes from your primordial spirit, the nine heavens divine phoenix. The nine heavens divine phoenix's primordial spirit is very strong, and it needs some supplementary methods to awaken it. I need to see the level of the divine phoenix seal in your abdomen, so that I can determine what method to use to help you awaken your primordial spirit. The divine phoenix seal was a powerful seal formed by the nine heavens divine phoenix on a cultivator's abdomen, and it contained the powerful power of the nine heavens divine phoenix. Nyetian had to know the level of the divine phoenix seal in order to determine the method to awaken the nine heavens divine phoenix's primordial spirit. Are you serious? Emorushi didn't quite understand Nyetian's words, but Nyetian's serious expression made her hesitate. Big sister, do I look like I'm joking? Nyetian was speechless. Then why are you helping me? If I awaken my primordial spirit, I will definitely defeat you. Won't you be doing yourself a disservice by helping me? Emorushi was still hesitant. After all, the lower abdomen was close to a girl's private part, and it couldn't be seen by anyone, especially not a shameless person. Nyetian was a little impatient, and he said seriously, Emorushi, I'm helping you because I admire your perseverance. To be able to endure the divine phoenix seal for 2.5 years is definitely not something an ordinary person can do. Just based on this, I have to help you. Also, I, Nyetian, am not a shameless person, and I'm not as filthy as you think. My time is very precious, and if you're not willing to let me see, I can leave now. Nyetian's time was indeed very precious, and he was rushing to cure himself. Emorushi was stunned, and she bit her lip. Finally, she made up her mind and nodded heavily. All right, I'll let you see. As she spoke, she closed her eyes and slowly undid her purple dress with both hands. Nyetian was speechless. Emorushi's expression made it seem like she was really being bullied. If others saw this, they would definitely think that Nyetian had done something to her. After a long time, Emorushi finally completed the difficult step. The moment Emorushi's dress was undone, Nyetian was startled for a moment, and his tongue felt a little dry. It had to be said that even though Emorushi was only 16 years old, her body was in excellent condition. Her figure was exquisite, and her curves were perfect. The places that should be fat were fat. The places that should be thin were thin. The places that should be protruding were protruding. And the places that should be concave were concave. Her smooth abdomen didn't have a single trace of excess fat. Her skin was white and tender, like a ripe peach. A light touch would cause water to flow out, making one want to pounce on it and take 300 bites. Shameless bastard, what are you looking at? Suddenly, Mo Rushi opened her eyes and saw that Niet Tian was in a daze. Niet Tian blushed and felt slightly awkward. He hurriedly said, "I'm observing. Mo Rushi's face turned even redder. She had already taken off her clothes. If she didn't let Niet Tian see, she would feel like she was at a disadvantage. Niet Tian, you shameless bastard. You better help me awaken my primordial spirit. Otherwise, I will definitely kill. No, I will definitely not let you off," Mo Rushi said angrily in her heart. Niet Tian calmed his mind and began to carefully observe Mo Rushi's abdomen. On the surface, there didn't seem to be any abnormalities. However, Niet Tian could see that there were several scarlet halos at the center of Mo Rushi's navel. The scarlet halos were the divine phoenix marks left behind by the divine phoenix flames. 1, 2, 3, 9. Niet Tian carefully counted the number of scarlet halos, and when he counted to 9, his expression changed. The divine phoenix mark has actually reached the 9th level. Niet Tian suddenly took a step forward and placed a hand on Mo Rushi's abdomen. "What are you doing?" Mo Rushi screamed as she didn't expect Niet Tian to not only look, but also touch. "Don't move." Niet Tian growled with an inviolable dominance in his tone. For some reason, Mo Rushi suddenly calmed down. She bit her lips and stopped moving. Niet Tian slid his palm across Mo Rushi's abdomen and carefully felt the scorching heat from the divine phoenix mark. His forehead was covered in sweat. Mo Rushi's abdomen was like a furnace. When he placed his hand on it, he felt as if he was being roasted. After a long time, Niet Tian retracted his palm and let out a long breath. At this moment, his palm was red and swollen, as if he had taken it out from boiling water. Are you all right?" Mo Rushi saw Niet Tian's sweaty face and saw that his palm was swollen. She immediately knew that she had wronged him and asked with some self-blame. Niet Tian stretched his palm a few times and quickly returned to normal. He gestured for Mo Rushi to put on her dress and said with a slight frown, "The situation is more serious than I expected. The divine phoenix mark has reached the 9th level. I must find a way to awaken the 9 heavens divine phoenix's primordial spirit within 3 days. Otherwise, it will be troublesome." 3 days? Mo Rushi was stunned. "What will happen if I can't find it?" Niet Tian said solemnly, "If you can't find a way to awaken the primordial spirit within 3 days, you will be burned by the divine phoenix mark." "I will die." Mo Rushi's little face was filled with fear. "Yes, you will die without a trace." Niet Tian nodded. The latter half of the sentence was said in his heart. The divine phoenix mark had reached the 9th level, which was also the most violent level. If the 9 heavens divine phoenix could not awaken, the divine phoenix mark would go out of control. At that time, not only would Mo Rushi die, but everything within a few hundred miles of her would also be burned to ashes. Therefore, staying with Mo Rushi now was tantamount to standing on top of a volcano that could erupt at any time. "Do you have a way to suppress the divine phoenix mark?" Mo Rushi asked carefully after a moment of silence. "Suppress?" Niet Tian was almost amused. The divine phoenix seal was condensed by the divine phoenix from the 9 heavens. Its might is beyond imagination. If you want to suppress it, you'll need the 10,000-year ice soul, the extreme sea dark iron, the 1,000-leaves sapphire, or the purple extreme heavenly crow. Not to mention that Moyang City doesn't have any of these things. Even if you search the entire 3,000 small worlds, you won't be able to find them. Mo Rushi's little face instantly turned pale, and she lowered her head in silence. Although she only understood half of what Niet Tian said, she could tell that it was almost impossible to suppress the divine phoenix mark. Seeing Mo Rushi's head lowered in silence, Tion suddenly chuckled. Although I can't suppress the divine phoenix mark, I have a better way to relieve your pain. What way? Rushi suddenly raised her head, and her sapphire eyes looked at Tion. To help you awaken the nine heavens' divine phoenix's primordial spirit. Tion smiled confidently. As long as the nine heavens' divine phoenix's primordial spirit awakens, the divine phoenix mark will naturally be controlled by the nine heavens' divine phoenix. Shameless person, you're messing with me again. Rushi pouted when she saw Tion laughing so happily. Rushi didn't know what happened to Tion, but she could feel that Tion had changed. He had become mysterious and powerful. Being with Tion gave her an inexplicable sense of security. Don't worry, you'll be fine as long as you're by my side. Moreover, you'll be able to awaken an abnormally powerful primordial spirit. Tion carefully looked at Rushi and was surprised once again. There was actually such an alluring beauty in these 3,000 small worlds. Let's go there first. Tion couldn't help but look into the distance and point at the mountain range in the distance. Shattering Cloud Mountain Range. Rushi shrieked like a frightened rabbit. My father said that the Shattering Cloud Mountain Range is very dangerous. We can't go there. Chapter 14. Tion could tell that although Rushi looked cold on the outside, she was actually a well-behaved girl on the inside. Sometimes, she could even be a little unruly. As Rushi screamed, the two set off towards the Shattering Cloud Mountain Range. The Shattering Cloud Mountain Range was a mountain range to the north of Moyang City. The mountain range was overgrown with thistles and spirit beasts, making it extremely dangerous. Under normal circumstances, people from Moyang City rarely entered the Shattering Cloud Mountain Range. Most of the people there were foreign beast hunters and mercenaries. This was because the Shattering Cloud Mountain Range had many precious herbs and rare spirit beasts. Some outlaws loved this kind of place. Moyang City was not far from the Shattering Cloud Mountain Range. Half an hour later, Tion and Rushi's figures appeared on the outskirts of the Shattering Cloud Mountain Range. Tion did not intend to go deep into the mountain range. His strength was too low, and it would be dangerous to go deep into the mountain range. Shattering Cloud Mountain Range, Tion have returned. Entering the Shattering Cloud Mountain Range, Tion's eyes surged with a strange aura. 3 years ago, his father and clansmen were killed by a group of men in black in the Shattering Cloud Mountain Range, and Tion's Yuan Meridians were also crippled by those men in black. Returning to the land of sorrow, there was no sorrow in Tion's heart, only anger. Tion, since we are already one person, I will definitely avenge your father and clansmen. At this moment, Tion swore in his heart. No matter who those men in black are, what awaits them in the future will be a nightmare. At this moment, Tion swore in his heart. At this moment, Tion had merged the memories of 2 lives, and the scene of his father's death was still vivid in his mind. No matter who those men in black were, they could not escape Tion's vengeful wrath. Tion, are you all right? Rushi asked timidly when she saw Tion's cold eyes. I'm fine. Tion smiled and returned to normal. He took a few steps forward, and suddenly he frowned. Tion suddenly turned around and looked at a canyon not far away. The aura of the frost grass. Hundreds of meters away from the canyon, Tion could vaguely sense an icy chill. He immediately determined that it was the aura of the frost grass and couldn't help but smile. Ice grass, a first-tier medicinal herb with a cold attribute, could be used as a primer for the 9 heavens' godly phoenix's awakening. The 9 heavens' divine phoenix's primordial spirit was a blazing fire attribute, and to guide it to awaken, one needed to use something cold. The frost grass was a good primer, but it was far from enough. Looks like we're in luck. Follow me. Tion smiled and walked towards the canyon. It was Rushi's first time entering the Shattering Cloud Mountain Range, so she couldn't help but feel a little nervous, so she followed closely behind Tion. What a cold aura. Rushi couldn't help but exclaim when she felt a bone-piercing chill as soon as she walked out of the canyon. This kind of bone-chilling cold might be unbearable for others, but for Rushi, it was just in time. She immediately felt a sense of comfort spread throughout her body, and the burning pain in her lower abdomen was greatly reduced. "Be careful!" At this moment, Tian suddenly cried out and pulled Rushi's small hand as they quickly retreated. Hiss! In the next moment, a 10-meter-long white snake suddenly sprang out in front of Tian and Rushi. That was close. Tian took a deep breath. If he had been half a second late, the two of them would have been bitten by the white snake. The white snake in front of them was 10 meters long, and its whole body was snow white. Its body was covered with ice crystal-like scales, and its head was triangular. Its eyes were yellow with a hint of black, and it exuded a suffocating chill. Tian. It was Rushi's first time seeing such a spirit beast, so she couldn't help but look at Tian. How lucky! It's actually a first-tier spirit beast, the frost snake. It seems that this canyon is its lair. Tian didn't panic and instead smiled proudly. The frost snake was an ice-attributed first-tier spirit beast, and its spirit core could also be used as a primer for the 9 heavens divine phoenix's awakening. With the frost grass and the frost snake spirit core, Tian had a 70 to 80% chance of awakening the 9 heavens divine phoenix. A first-tier spirit beast. While Tian was happily thinking about it, Rushi was quite frightened. Her face turned pale when she found out that the frost snake was a first-tier spirit beast. A first-tier spirit beast was very weak, and it was only equivalent to an origin meridian martial artist. However, Rushi clearly didn't have any experience fighting spirit beasts, so she was very nervous. She glanced at Tian and became even more annoyed. Is there something wrong with Tian? How can he still laugh at this moment? Rushi, I'll leave this little worm to you. The 9 heavens divine phoenix seal in your body has a natural restraining power against the frost snake. Don't be afraid, just kill it. Just when Rushi was feeling puzzled and annoyed, Tian actually took a few steps back and let her deal with the frost snake alone. Tian, Rushi was angry and annoyed, but the frost snake had already locked onto her. Tian watched from the side and didn't have any intention of making a move. Tian naturally had his own reasons for doing so. Rushi was currently at the 9th level of Origin Meridian, and her strength far surpassed the frost snake. As long as she took the initiative to make a move, the frost snake wouldn't have any chance of winning. However, this wasn't the main point. The main point was that he could tell that Rushi was obsessed with cultivation and didn't have much combat experience. At most, she would only spar with the city lord's residence's guards. However, sparring and actual combat were two different things. Tian wanted to make use of this opportunity to temper Rushi's combat experience. In a battle between martial artists, the most important thing was naturally strength, and the most important thing was combat experience. These experiences might not seem like much on the surface, but at crucial moments, they would often play a decisive role. Of course, there was another reason why Tian didn't make a move, and that was because he really couldn't make a move. If he made a move, he would definitely have to use the power of his Origin Meridian, which would undoubtedly aggravate the soul-devouring flower poison in his body. Moreover, he couldn't be bothered to make a move against a spirit beast at the level of the frost snake. Rushi was locked onto by the frost snake, and she really had no choice but to make preparations to fight to the death. However, the strange thing was that the frost snake seemed to be very cautious when it stared at her. It even seemed to be a little fearful, and it didn't attack at all. Could it be that it's afraid of me? Rushi's beautiful eyes flickered with surprise. However, Tian reminded her, don't let your guard down. Although rank 1 spirit beasts don't have high intelligence, they are very cunning. Sometimes, they will adopt a strategy and appear weak to the enemy. When the enemy lets down their guard, they will launch a fatal attack. As Tian spoke, he shook his head repeatedly. Rushi was really too naive to actually be fooled by a frost snake. He could clearly see that the frost snake was about to launch a fatal attack. Tian, it's fine if you don't want to help, but you're still scaring me. How can a mere rank 1 spirit beast have such high intelligence? Mo Rushi thought that Nyetian was teasing her, so she shouted with some dissatisfaction. Sigh, you're too young. Nyetian sighed softly and prepared to make a move. As expected, just as Nyetian's voice fell, the frost snake suddenly launched an attack. Whoosh! Its triangular head flew out like a sharp arrow, and its mouth opened 180 degrees, revealing its white teeth. It was as if it could swallow Mo Rushi whole. At this moment of life and death, Mo Rushi was very calm. She took a step forward, and her body flew a few meters. Unfortunately, the frost snake was too fast, and it was about to bite her foot. Chapter 15. Mo Rushi landed firmly on the ground and looked at the corpse of the frost snake with a frightened expression. Nyetian took a glance at the frost snake's corpse and said with a smile, "The Eastern Emperor finger finally shows some power. You killed it?" Mo Rushi looked at Zhu Chun in astonishment. "If it wasn't me, would it be the heavens?" Nyetian shrugged, dissatisfied with Mo Rushi's performance. Although Mo Rushi was very calm in the face of death, she was too naive. If it wasn't for Nyetian's timely intervention, Mo Rushi would have definitely been injured. "How did you do it?" Mo Rushi couldn't understand how Nyetian could launch an aerial attack, releasing one's origin energy to attack from high up in the air. This was clearly something that only Essence Spirit Realm martial artists could do. How could Nyetian, who is only at the 9th level of Origin Meridian, do it? Attacking from the air, generally speaking, only Essence Spirit Realm martial artists were indeed able to do it. Only after awakening their origin spirit could a practitioner release their origin energy. Without an origin spirit, one couldn't release their origin energy. But Nyetian was clearly not an ordinary person. He had just used the Eastern Emperor finger not because of his origin spirit, but because of his comprehension of martial techniques and exquisite control of the origin energy in his body. "I'll take the frost snake's spirit core first. If we meet any other spirit beasts later, I'll just be in charge of watching." Nyetian didn't answer Mo Rushi's question. Instead, he walked forward and cut open the back of the frost snake's head, taking out a milky white spirit core. Spirit core was the crystallization of origin energy in a spirit beast body. It contained abundant origin energy and had very high medicinal value. "You'll be watching?" Mo Rushi was stunned and immediately became unhappy. She said in a cold tone, "You're clearly very strong. Why don't you fight yourself? Why do you want me to do it?" Nyetian put away the spirit core and smiled. "Because I'm strong, so there's no need for me to fight. Because you're weak, you need to train even harder. Only then will you have a chance to defeat me. Am I right?" With that, Nyetian walked into the canyon. Mo Rushi was stunned and only reacted after a long time. She murmured, "That seems to make sense. Oh no, this shameless scoundrel is taking advantage of me again. You want me to fight alone while he watches from the side, waiting to collect the spirit core. How could there be such a good thing in this world?" With that in mind, Mo Rushi's face flushed with anger, and she hurriedly walked toward the canyon. Mo Rushi was stunned by the scene that greeted her as she stepped into the canyon. "What kind of grass is this? It's so beautiful." Mo Rushi looked at the dreamlike scene before her, and a radiant smile blossomed on her face. The entire gorge seemed as if it was covered in ice and snow, crystal clear and magnificent. Taking a closer look, the ground was not covered in ice and snow, but a kind of white grass. Each strand was fine and exquisite, extremely beautiful. "This is a Tier 1 medicinal herb, frigid ice grass. I really didn't expect that this place was actually a frigid ice grass canyon. Just these frigid ice grass are priceless. Looks like your 9 heavenly phoenix's original spirit is about to awaken." Nyetian's lips curled into a smile. With such a large amount of frigid ice grass, coupled with the frigid ice snake's spirit core, Nyetian had a greater chance of awakening the 9 heavenly phoenix. "These grasses are so beautiful. Are you really going to destroy them all?" Mo Rushi suddenly said with a childish heart. Nyetian was speechless. This city lord's mansion's eldest daughter, who looked cold, was indeed a delicate little girl. Hiss, hiss. All of a sudden, Tian heard a rustling sound. His expression flickered as he roared, "Run!" Before Rushi could react, Tian grabbed her little hand. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two huge white figures suddenly sprang out. Tian used Wakaba, flying swan steps, skillfully and thrillingly dodged the fatal attack. Damn! No wonder there's so much frigid ice grass in this canyon. It's a cave of frigid ice snakes. Looking at the two frigid ice snakes that suddenly appeared, Tian let out a strange cry. These two snakes are so big. Rushi couldn't help but hide behind Tian and whispered. Hiding behind Tian, she felt much safer. The two frigid ice snakes in front of them were at least 15 meters long and as thick as a bowl. Their triangular heads were even larger, and their flicking tongues made people shudder. They're not big. The real big guys are in the cave at the back. Tian glanced at a pitch-black cave in the canyon, and his eyes flashed with a fiery light. If he guessed correctly, there should be a group of frigid ice snakes living in the canyon in front of him, and there should be at least a dozen or even 100 of them. There was definitely a frigid ice snake king in the cave. Frigid ice snakes were solitary spirit beasts. There was only one reason for them to gather together, and that was because the frigid ice snake king was laying eggs. The ice snake king was very weak during the spawning period, so it would summon the surrounding ice snakes to protect it. The glacial snake king is almost equivalent to a rank 2 spirit beast. If I can obtain the glacial snake king's spirit core, I can help Rushi awaken the 9 heavens divine phoenix's origin spirit with 100% certainty. Thinking of this, Tian couldn't help but smile sinisterly. Tian no longer hesitated and quickly pointed with 2 fingers. Bang! Bang! With 2 muffled sounds, the 2 frost snakes were hit in the head and fell to the ground, dead. Tian's finger of the Eastern Emperor was too tyrannical and completely unreasonable. Even though he was only at the 9th level of the Origin Meridian realm, he was still able to easily kill the frost snake. Let's go. After killing the 2 frost snakes, Tian did not go for the spiritual cores. Instead, he pulled Rushi and ran out of the canyon. After the 2 of them ran out of the canyon, dozens of frost snakes darted out of the cave, almost filling up the entire canyon. However, these frost snakes did not chase after him. They only guarded the entrance of the cave. This was because the glacial snake king was laying eggs inside the cave. After running out of the canyon, Tian suddenly felt dizzy. He staggered forward and almost fell. Tian, are you all right? Rushi supported Tian. Seeing that his face had turned black and his lips had turned purple, she immediately became nervous. Tian sat cross-legged and circulated the power of the stars in his 10th Origin Meridian to suppress the poison in his Origin Meridian. A moment later, his complexion slightly improved. There's poison in my body. Otherwise, why would I care about a few mere frost insects? Tian stood up and smiled bitterly. Just now, he had forcefully attacked, causing the poison of the soul-devouring flower to worsen, and he almost fainted. You're poisoned? Rushi was shocked. Tian was poisoned, but he was still able to kill 2 frost snakes with ease. If he wasn't poisoned, then how powerful would he be? Rushi did not know that Tian was only using the power of his 9th Origin Meridian. He had not used the power of the 10th Origin Meridian yet. If he used the power of the stars, Tian could completely contend with an Essence Spirit martial artist or a rank 2 spirit beast. Looks like there's a big gap between my strength and his. I must cultivate even harder. If we encounter spirit beasts later, I'll let this guy watch from the side. Rushi said in her heart. A little poison. Tian waved his hand. He glanced at Rushi and said with a naughty smile, "You support me." Saying that, he put an arm around Rushi's shoulder. Rushi was startled. This was the first time she had such intimate contact with a man. She was not used to it. He's poisoned. I'm taking care of the injured. Rushi convinced herself in her heart. She carefully supported Tian. Nietian hugged Emorushi and took a deep breath. Smelling the fragrance of the girl, he chuckled and said, "I feel much better now." Of course, he had not reached the point where he could not walk. But with a peerless beauty supporting him, why not? As the saying goes, one would be a bastard not to take advantage of an advantage. Chapter 16. Someone's there. Emorushi subconsciously looked over, but she didn't see anyone, nor did she sense any movement. The corner of Nietian's mouth curled up. 4 beast hunters, 2 at level 8 and 2 at level 9. You can see them? Emorushi was even more astonished. Nietian had always been able to sense the appearance of the frost snakes in advance, and now he was able to say the existence of 4 beast hunters as if he had seen them with his own eyes. You can say that. Nietian smiled indifferently. Nietian's psychic perception had reached a terrifying level. As long as he concentrated, he would be able to perceive even the slightest movement within a radius of several thousand meters. Let's hide first. Emorushi had heard that beast hunters were people who specialized in hunting spirit beasts. They were extremely cruel and unrestrained, killing without blinking an eye. Nietian smiled. Why should we hide? I'm waiting for them, so I can ask for their help. If not for the soul-devouring flowers poison, Nietian alone would be enough to kill all the frost snakes in the valley. He originally wanted to find the antidote ingredients first and wait for the soul-devouring flowers poison to be cured before going to the snake cave. But now that someone was here, he felt that there was no need to go through so much trouble. The other party was a beast hunter, and they must have been roaming around the outskirts of the shattering Cloud Mountain range for a long time. They might even have the antidote ingredients. Even if they didn't have the ingredients, they could still be of help to Nietian. We'll wait for them here, Nietian said indifferently. Of course, he wouldn't expect these beast hunters to be obedient, but he had the means to make them obedient. All right. Emorushi nodded her head helplessly. After spending so much time with Nietian, she had already started to trust him completely. A moment later, 4 figures appeared in front of them. The one walking at the front was a huge man over 2 meters tall. His upper body was bare, and his muscles were bulging. He looked extremely powerful. Brother Tai, there are 2 people in front. They look like 2 kids. One of the 4 noticed Nietian and Emorushi. They really are 2 little guys. The 2-meter-tall Li Tai chuckled and strode over. When the 4 beast hunters were less than 10 meters away from Nietian and Emorushi, they suddenly stopped. 4 pairs of eyes stared straight at Emorushi like big bad wolves seeing a fat sheep. It had to be said that Emorushi's appearance and temperament were simply too beautiful. Wherever she went, she would attract the attention of others. What's more, Li Tai and the other 3 were beast hunters who fought with spirit beasts all day long. They had never seen a woman, so when they saw a peerless beauty like Emorushi, they almost went crazy. Brother Tai, it's a pretty girl. Our brothers are in luck this time. Ho-san, who looked the most wretched and skinny, laughed mischievously. He was almost drooling. Don't move, I'll go first. Wait until I'm done playing, then you guys can come up. Li Tai roared, intimidating his 3 subordinates. Then, he quickly took a few steps forward and charged at Emorushi without saying a word. Emorushi had never seen such a scene before. She was so scared that her face turned pale. Nietian looked at Li Tai, who was charging at him. He frowned slightly and spat out 2 words, "You're courting death. Little beauty, I'm coming." Li Tai rushed over, ignoring Nietian's existence. Nietian's eyes were filled with killing intent. He looked for an opportunity and pointed his finger. It was the Dongwang finger again. Puffed. The domineering force of the Dongwang finger pierced through Li Tai's kneecap. Ah, mother of Astra's cur, what bit me? Li Tai howled like a pig being slaughtered. The sharp pain in his knee made him kneel on one knee. Since you want to eat it so much, I'll let you eat it. Nietian glanced at Li Tai coldly. Suddenly, the frost snake spirit core appeared in his hand, and he threw it at Li Tai's wide, open mouth. Puffed. Li Tai suddenly felt something cold in his mouth. He subconsciously swallowed and swallowed the frost snake spirit core. Ah, it's cold. As the frost snake spirit core entered his body, Li Tai howled like a wild beast. His huge body rolled on the ground. In the blink of an eye, Li Tai had turned into an ice sculpture and died on the spot. The spirit core of a spirit beast was the crystallization of the spirit beast's elemental energy. It contained the spirit beast's extremely violent spiritual energy. In the hands of an alchemist, the spirit core was an extremely precious medicinal ingredient. However, if consumed directly, the violent energy contained within it would be the most lethal killer. It was enough to kill a martial artist in an instant. At this moment, Li Tai had been killed by the violent energy contained within the frost snake spirit core. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. The other 3 beast hunters had no time to react. Is there anyone else who wants to come up? He's an example. Nietion's deep roar woke the 3 beast hunters up. Run. The lean Hosan was the first to react. He broke into a run. Come back. Nietion roared. His voice was like thunder, stirring up a cloud of dust. He used a sound wave-type martial technique, the berserk lion roar, to intimidate Hosan and the others. Hosan stopped in midair and turned around. Looking at Nietion, whose face was filled with anger, he dropped to his knees and said, Sir, I failed to recognize Mount Tai. I'm sorry for offending you and your daughter. Please show me mercy and spare me. Hosan's eyes went wide as he looked at Nietion. As Hosan spoke, he glanced at Li Tai, who was on the ground. His forehead was drenched in cold sweat. When the other 2 saw this, they quickly knelt down as well. Nietion had used the Eastern Emperor finger and the berserk lion roar consecutively, aggravating the soul-devouring flower's poison. His face darkened. He glanced at the 3 of them and sneered. Did I say you could leave? Hosan was very quick-witted. He kowtowed loudly as he said, I am willing to be young master's dog. If young master wants me to climb a mountain of swords and dive into a sea of flames, I will not hesitate. Nietion glanced at Hosan and smiled disdainfully. Then his eyes lit up. He sensed an aura that he was looking forward to. 7-leaf meridian cleansing grass. That's right. It's the aura of the 7-leaf meridian cleansing grass. Nietion was excited. The 7-leaf meridian cleansing grass was one of the herbs that could neutralize the soul-devouring flower's poison. Take out all the herbs you have on you, Nietion said in a cold tone. Robbery? Hosan was stunned. He immediately took out all the herbs he had on him and spread them on the ground. Nietion took a look. Good Lord, this guy really had a lot of stuff on him. There were dozens of herbs on the ground, as well as more than 10 spiritual cores. Although most of them were first-grade herbs and first-grade spiritual cores, they were still worth a lot. These herbs are enough to buy your lives. Now scram. Nietion looked at the 7-leaf meridian cleansing grass and smiled. He waved his hand, indicating that Hosan could scram. Now that Nietion was poisoned, he really didn't want to fight anymore. Hosan was overjoyed. He got up and ran, and the other 2 followed him. In just a short while, the 3 figures completely disappeared. Nietion, aren't you afraid that they will come back for revenge if you let them go? Rushi asked worriedly. Nietion picked up the 7-leaf meridian cleansing grass and swallowed it. They're just a few loaches. They can't do anything. Chapter 17. Rushi was dumbfounded. This was the first time she had seen someone swallow a herb directly. Herbs were similar to spiritual cores. They were filled with violent energy. If they were swallowed directly, there was a risk of death. Li Tai, for example, had been frozen into an ice sculpture after swallowing a glacial snake's spirit core. The 7-leaf meridian cleansing grass was a Tier 2 herb. Its medicinal power was several times stronger than a Tier 1 spiritual core. Wasn't Nietion afraid of death by swallowing it just like that? After Nietion swallowed the 7-leaf meridian cleansing grass, the tyrannical medicinal power rushed through his yuan meridians. He was a Tier 9 pill emperor in his previous life. He knew the properties of various herbs like the back of his hand. He knew the properties of the 7-leaf meridian cleansing grass very well. Moreover, his body had been strengthened by the power of stars. That was why he dared to swallow it directly. Moments later, Nietion rose to his feet with a confident smile on his face. At this moment, the soul-devouring flower poison in his body had been cured. Your poison is cured. Rushi was shocked to see that Nietion's expression had returned to normal and his aura had become even sharper. Nietion smiled faintly and said, "It's just a small poison. What's there to be surprised about?" Rushi's eyes flickered. In her eyes, Nietion had become even more mysterious and incomprehensible. "All right, let's return to the canyon and see how the frost worms are doing," Nietion said as he turned and walked back to the canyon. Now that the poison in his body had been cured, it was easy for him to deal with dozens of frost snakes with his current strength. There was a high possibility that the Frost Snake King was in the cave. The Frost Snake King was much stronger than the frost snakes. It had the strength of a Tier 2 spiritual beast. However, the Frost Snake King was in the laying period and was very weak. Hence, Nietion was not afraid. As Nietion and Rushi approached the canyon, a terrifying roar came from within. Roar! The roar shook the sky, and the whole canyon trembled. "Nietion, what's that sound?" Rushi's face was pale as she asked with a trembling voice. Nietion frowned slightly as he sensed a violent flame aura coming from the canyon. His heart sank. He stepped forward and directly rushed to the entrance of the canyon. Rushi followed closely, not daring to stray too far from Nietion. The two of them arrived at the entrance of the canyon. The scene that greeted them was so bloody that even Nietion was stunned. More than 100 frost snake corpses lay in the canyon. All of them had their heads dug out and their spirit cores extracted. The entire canyon was dyed red with blood. The originally snow-white canyon was now scarlet, and a tyrannical aura assaulted everyone's senses. On top of the frost snake's corpse, a giant fiery red beast raised its huge head and violently trampled on the frost snake's corpse. The fiery red beast was 10 meters tall, and its entire body was crimson. Its huge head shook, and 2 half-meter-long white fangs protruded from its mouth, dripping with blood. Rank 2 spirit beast, Scarlet Flame Tiger. Seeing this fiery red beast, Nietion couldn't help but frown. A rank 2 spirit beast was equivalent to an origin spirit realm martial artist, and the Scarlet Flame Tiger was an expert among the rank 2 spirit beasts, which was equivalent to a 3rd or even 4th level origin spirit realm martial artist. The Frost Snake was only a rank 1 spirit beast, so it was impossible for them to be a match for the Scarlet Flame Tiger. Nietion and Rushi had only left the canyon for half an hour, but the Scarlet Flame Tiger had already killed over 100 frost snakes. From this, it could be seen how powerful the Scarlet Flame Tiger was. "Nietion, what should we do?" This was the first time Rushi had seen such a bloody scene, and she couldn't help but feel afraid. If it wasn't for Nietion being by her side, she would definitely have run away. Nietion looked at the corpses of the frost snakes in the canyon and saw that the frost grass in the canyon had mostly been trampled by the Scarlet Flame Tiger. There was no fear in his eyes, but he was very angry. He said coldly, "What a good red-furred beast. You ate all my frost snake spirit cores and trampled most of the frost grass. I will cut your stomach open today." Over 100 frost snakes, that meant over 100 frost snake spirit cores. Now that they had all been eaten by the Scarlet Flame Tiger, how could Nietion not be angry? Most importantly, even the frost grass had been trampled by the Scarlet Flame Tiger. How was Nietion going to help Rushi awaken her origin spirit? That's right, there's still the Frost Snake King. We can't let the Frost Snake King die in the hands of the Scarlet Flame Tiger. Nietion suddenly saw the cave in the canyon and immediately sensed that the Frost Snake King was still alive. The Frost Snake King's strength was close to a rank 2 spirit beast, and the power within its spirit core was even stronger. It was very suitable for Rushi to awaken her origin spirit. Roar! At this moment, the Scarlet Flame Tiger seemed to have sensed something and suddenly roared at the sky. Swoosh! In the next moment, a huge white figure suddenly sprang out of the cave. It was a huge white snake that was 20 meters long. The Frost Snake King. Nietion's eyes lit up. He immediately knew that the huge white snake that suddenly sprang out was the Frost Snake King that had just finished laying eggs. The Frost Snake King's entire body was snow white, and its scales were like ice crystals. They reflected the light of the setting sun and were extremely dazzling. Roar! The scarlet flame tiger roared again and leaped high into the air. After it landed, it confronted the frost snake king, its scarlet eyes flashing with a violent light. The frost snake king guarded the entrance of a cave. Its huge body was very weak, and it seemed like it was difficult for it to even move. The frost snake king is protecting its child. I can't let it die in the hands of the scarlet flame tiger. Nietion's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately took a step forward. Nietion, what are you doing? Rushi was dumbfounded. By the time she reacted, Nietion had already entered the canyon. Rushi, wait for me outside the canyon. Don't come in. Nietion turned around and smiled confidently at Rushi. He then leaped high into the air and landed on a huge rock in the canyon. Idiot, do you want to die? Rushi was on the verge of tears. She knew that Nietion's strength was only at the 9th level of Origin Meridian, and it was impossible for him to be a match for the Scarlet Flame Tiger. However, Nietion was not afraid at all. He stood on the huge rock and shouted, "Red-furred beast, what's the big deal about bullying a frost snake that has just laid eggs? Let Grandpa Nietion play with you." Roar! The Scarlet Flame Tiger suddenly turned around and locked its fierce eyes on Nietion. It let out a deep roar from its throat. A rank 2 spirit beast already had a high level of intelligence, and it was equivalent to a 5 or 6-year-old child. The Scarlet Flame Tiger could also understand some of Nietion's words. The Scarlet Flame Tiger's huge red head swayed, as if it was doubting whether this human in front of it had gone mad. He actually dared to provoke a Scarlet Flame Tiger. You red-furred beast, you can still understand a bit of human language. Nietion chuckled without the slightest bit of fear. Instead, he ridiculed. You ate my frost snake's spirit core. So today, I'll make you pay with your life. Roar! The Scarlet Flame Tiger was instantly enraged. It roared towards the sky, and its 4 iron hooves stomped on the ground. Its huge body leaped into the air, and its 2 front claws revealed sharp steel-like blades as it ruthlessly clawed at Nietion. The Scarlet Flame Tiger was a rank 2 spirit beast. Even an Origin Spirit realm martial artist would not dare to take a full blow from it. Chapter 18. Nietion didn't dare to face the ferocious Scarlet Flame Tiger head-on. He executed the swan steps and moved his body a few meters away. Bang! The Scarlet Flame Tiger was like a small mountain as its steel claws fell down. The boulder that Nietion was standing on was sliced into 4 to 5 pieces. Even the ground was left with terrifying cracks. Nietion retreated a few meters to increase the distance between him and the Scarlet Flame Tiger. The Scarlet Flame Tiger was indeed worthy of being a rank 2 spirit beast. The strength of its claw was at least 10,000 gene, and Nietion only had a few thousand gene of strength. Even with the addition of the 10th Meridian's star energy, it was impossible for his strength to reach 10,000 gene. Facing the Scarlet Flame Tiger head-on was no different from courting death. Roar! The Scarlet Flame Tiger let out an angry roar after its attack missed. It turned its huge body and lashed out with its tail that was like a steel whip. What a cunning beast! Nietion didn't expect the Scarlet Flame Tiger to have such a move. He couldn't react in time, and it was already too late for him to dodge. At this critical moment, he raised his arms to protect his chest. Pah! The tiger's tail lashed out and hit Nietion's arms, sending him flying into the air. Nietion somersaulted in the air and elegantly landed on the ground. However, there was a scarlet wound on his arms. It was a terrifying sight. Fortunately, I have the star energy. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to protect my arms. Nietion rejoiced in his heart. The star energy had greatly improved his body. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to withstand this attack with his 9th level Origin Meridian cultivation. After its attack succeeded, the Scarlet Flame Tiger became even more berserk. It turned around and charged at Nietion. Red-furred beast, do you think I'm a stinky loach when a flood dragon doesn't show its might? Nietion laughed. The Origin energy in his body surged, and he was filled with battle intent. Eastern Emperor Finger. Kill. Nietion pointed his finger out. An air-piercing force gushed out from the tip of his finger and attacked the Scarlet Flame Tiger in an inconceivable trajectory. The Scarlet Flame Tiger sensed danger, and its fiery red head swayed in the air. Pooh! The Donglong finger deviated slightly and hit one of the Scarlet Flame Tiger's eyes. The sharp force directly exploded the eyeball. This was the first time that Nietian had used the power of the stars in this Eastern Emperor's finger, and its immense power was enough to pose a fatal threat to an Essence Spirit practitioner. Ow! One of its eyeballs was destroyed, and blood dyed half of the Scarlet Flame Tiger's head red. The sudden sharp pain made it howl in pain. The Scarlet Flame Tiger landed on the ground and glared at Nietian with its remaining eye, as if it wanted to crush the young master in front of it. Nietian became slightly nervous. At this moment, the Scarlet Flame Tiger was already in a berserk state. If he was not careful, he might die on the spot. The scarlet fur on the Scarlet Flame Tiger's body stood on end, emitting a tyrannical aura. Whoosh! Just when the Scarlet Flame Tiger was about to attack again, a huge figure suddenly flew over. It was the Ice Snake King. The Ice Snake King's sudden appearance caught the Scarlet Flame Tiger off guard. It wrapped itself around the Scarlet Flame Tiger's body, causing it to lose its ability to move. Ow! The Scarlet Flame Tiger fell to the ground and let out a roar. Its huge head twisted with all its might, wanting to bite off the Ice Snake King's head. However, the Ice Snake King's wrapping strength was very strong. It slowly tightened its body, squeezing the Scarlet Flame Tiger until it could not breathe. In an instant, Nietian was also stunned by the sudden scene. He did not expect that the Ice Snake King, which had just finished laying its eggs, could suddenly explode with such great power. In order to protect its child in the cave, the Ice Snake King did not hesitate to fight to the death with the Scarlet Flame Tiger. The Scarlet Flame Tiger's resistance became even more violent. Its huge body tumbled, smashing the surrounding boulders into pieces. A horrifying hole appeared on the Ice Snake King's body, and it bled nonstop. I need to seize the opportunity. If this continues, the Ice Snake King will definitely be killed by the Scarlet Flame Tiger. Nietian observed from the side, ready to give the Scarlet Flame Tiger a fatal blow at any moment. After all, the Ice Snake King was not a rank 2 spirit beast, and it had just finished laying its eggs. Its body was very weak, so it was impossible for it to kill the Scarlet Flame Tiger. Now's the time. Seizing the opportunity, Nietian stepped out with the Great Swan Steps and approached the two huge beasts that were engaged in a fierce battle in a strange manner. When he got close to the Scarlet Flame Tiger, Nietian bent his body, stepped out with both feet, and rode on the Scarlet Flame Tiger's neck. He grabbed one of the Scarlet Flame Tiger's ears with one hand and took out the absolute heaven cutter with the other. He aimed at the back of the Scarlet Flame Tiger's head and stabbed it. Pooh! The sword stabbed in. Nietian grabbed the hilt of the sword and twisted it. Blood immediately gushed out like a fountain. Roar! The Scarlet Flame Tiger howled in pain. It used all of its strength for the last time, and its huge body leaped into the air, smashing its head into a boulder. Not good! Nietian cried out in alarm. He kicked out fiercely, sending himself flying backward. Bang! With a loud sound, the Scarlet Flame Tiger and the Ice Snake King smashed into the boulder. The boulder, which was 5 to 6 meters tall, was smashed into pieces with a loud bang. At the same time, Nietian fell from the sky and landed steadily. It was a daunting experience, but not a dangerous one. He took a step forward to check on the Scarlet Flame Tiger and the Ice Snake King. Half of the Scarlet Flame Tiger's head was smashed in, and blood flowed everywhere. It was completely dead. The Ice Snake King was covered in blood, and it was on its last breath. Its two eyes looked in the direction of the cave, where its child was. Emo Rushi only dared to walk over after seeing the two giant beasts fall. She looked at Nietian with her terrified eyes. Nietian, are you okay? I'm fine. Nietian smiled faintly. He did not look like he had just experienced a moment of life and death. Nietian looked at the unwilling Ice Snake King and took a step forward. Go in peace. I will take care of your child for you. The Ice Snake King seemed to understand Nietian's words. Its blue eyes slowly closed, and the last bit of life left it. Nietian did not hesitate anymore. He took a step forward, cut open the Ice Snake King's head, and took out the crystal spirit core. Then, he reached his other hand into the bloody hole at the back of the Scarlet Flame Tiger's head and took out a red spirit core. There were 2 spirit cores, one red and one white, one fire and one ice, and they were very precious. Nietian passed the Scarlet Flame Tiger's spirit core to Emorushi and said, "Take it. The Scarlet Flame Tiger's spirit core will be very helpful for your training in the future." This spirit core, you're giving it to me?" Emorushi was stunned for a moment. Nietian risked his life to get 2 spirit cores, and now he was giving one to her. She felt a little touched. Nietian, however, gave a heartless smile and said, "Everyone who sees it has a share." Emorushi was speechless. Nietian kept the Ice Snake King's spirit core and looked at the cave in the canyon. He couldn't help but frown and said, "Could there be another Ice Snake King in the cave? Why is this cold aura so strong?" In the cave that the Ice Snake King swore to protect, a very strong cold aura spread out. This aura seemed to be even stronger than the Ice Snake King. Nietian was very curious. Could there be a second Ice Snake King in the cave? "Rushi, wait here. I'll go in and take a look." Nietian was not sure what was in the cave, so he asked Emorushi to wait outside. Emorushi glanced at the corpses in the canyon. She couldn't help but swallow her saliva and said softly, "Come out quickly." Chapter 19. As soon as Nietian stepped into the cave, he felt a bone-chilling aura hit him in the face. This aura is even stronger than the Arctic Serpent King's. Could it be the Arctic Serpent Emperor? Nietian's heart sank. The icy aura in the cave was stronger than he had expected. The Arctic Serpent Emperor was 1 rank higher than the Arctic Serpent King. Its strength was comparable to a rank 3 spirit beast, and its battle prowess was equivalent to an all-creation martial practitioner. However, an Arctic Serpent King and an Arctic Serpent Emperor had appeared in the same cave. Was this possible? Thinking of this, Nietian became even more doubtful. He carefully walked forward. Fortunately, the cave was not large, and it was not very dark. Soon, Nietian reached the innermost part of the cave. He looked around and did not find anything out of the ordinary. However, he found a fist-sized snake egg in the center of the cave. Arctic Serpent Egg. Nietian walked over and picked up the snake egg. The shock on his face deepened. The snake egg was the color of clear ice crystals, and it emitted an abnormally powerful icy aura. What a powerful ice aura! Nietian frowned as he looked at the snake egg in his hand, which was emitting wisps of cold air. It mutated. Shock appeared on Nietian's face as he immediately thought of an explanation. Spirit beast mutations were extremely rare. No wonder there's only 1 snake egg. It's a mutated snake egg. I'm lucky this time. Nietian looked at the snake egg and smiled happily. The Arctic Serpent King usually laid dozens or hundreds of eggs at a time, but there was only 1 this time. It was clearly due to the snake egg's mutation. "Little fellow, I'll wait for you to hatch. I wonder how powerful this mutated Arctic serpent will be." Nietian was a little excited. He knew that mutated spirit beasts were usually very powerful, but the mutated Arctic Serpent Emperor was already comparable to the Arctic Serpent Emperor before it hatched. He wondered how powerful it would be after it hatched. He guessed that this mutated Arctic Serpent would at least reach the level of a rank 4 spirit beast. When it grew up, it would have the strength of a giant spirit realm martial practitioner. Nietian. Just as Nietian put away the snake egg and was about to walk out of the cave, Emorushi's scream suddenly rang out in the canyon. Nietian sensed 3 powerful auras, and his expression suddenly changed as he hurriedly ran. Inside the canyon, 3 black-clothed men suddenly appeared and looked at the corpses of the Scarlet Flame Tiger and the Glacial Snake King with gloomy expressions. The battle between the rank 2 spirit beast, the Scarlet Flame Tiger, and the Glacial Snake King. No wonder there was such a huge commotion. The 2 of them were evenly matched, but they ended up dying together. Interesting, one of the lean black-robed men said playfully while staring at Rushi. Little girl obediently hand over the spirit cores of the scarlet flame tiger and the glacial snake king. Then, serve us well. Maybe we'll spare your life if we're happy. Hee hee. Another slightly plump man in black laughed wretchedly. Second bro, third bro, we have important matters to attend to. Once we get the spirit core, we'll leave. As for this little girl, just kill her, said the leader of the black-robed men. His voice was hoarse and extremely threatening. Boss, if we just kill her, wouldn't it be letting this little girl off too easily? I haven't touched a woman for quite a few days already. Give me 10 minutes, I'll be done in no time. The fatty laughed mischievously and walked closer to Rushi step by step. The muscles on his face were trembling with excitement. What do you want to do? Rushi's face turned deathly pale as she retreated. The three black-clothed men were all essence spirit realm martial artists, and they were not people that Rushi could deal with. What do I want? The fatty laughed mischievously and said, Little beauty, you'll know how powerful Big Brother Fatty is in a while. I guarantee that I'll let you die comfortably. Third bro, I'll give you 10 minutes. The leader of the black-clothed men seemed to not want to see what was going to happen next. He turned around and walked out of the canyon. This third bro, everything else is good, but he's too perverted. If he could put more effort into cultivation, he would have long become a level 2 origin spirit realm martial artist. The lean black-clothed man sighed and followed the fatty out of the canyon. Thank you, big brother, second brother, for helping me. The fatty laughed loudly. Without hesitating, he stretched out his fat pig hand and grabbed towards Rushi. No, Rushi instinctively retreated, but she bumped into someone. She turned around and saw that it was Tion who had just walked out of the cave. Tion. Seeing Tion again, Rushi burst into tears and threw herself into Tion's embrace. Tion hugged Rushi lightly and looked at the wretched fatty cold. Killing intent could be seen in his eyes. Where did this stinking brat come from? To actually dare to spoil Grandpa Fatty's fun. Hurry up and scram for Grandpa Fatty. Grandpa Fatty can still spare your life after I'm done playing. The fatty only took a glance at Tion and could immediately tell that Tion was at level 9 Origin Meridian. He didn't put Tion in his eyes at all. Tianling smiled coldly and said, You want to spare my life, but I don't plan on letting your pig life go. Yo! Only now did the fatty take a proper look at Tion. Once again confirming Tion's strength, he couldn't help laughing. A level 9 Origin Meridian brat actually wants Grandpa Fatty's life. I think you haven't even grown your milk teeth yet and already want to gnaw on a bone. You're very lucky today. Grandpa Fatty is in a good mood. I'll give you 3 seconds to disappear from my sight immediately. Otherwise, bear the consequences. The fatty didn't want to kill anyone, afraid of ruining the good mood and atmosphere. Tion looked askance at the fatty and raised a finger, saying indifferently, I just need one move, and I'll take your pig head. Tion was enraged at this moment. He was truly enraged. A mere level 1 origin spirit trash was actually so arrogant. He simply didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Stinking brat, you're tired of living, being looked down upon. The fatty was immediately enraged. His entire body swelled with a powerful aura, and a porcupine phantom indistinctly appeared behind him. Porcupine. This was the fatty's primordial spirit. Although level 9 Origin Meridian and level 1 Origin Spirit only had a difference of 1 level in strength, the chasm within was hard to surpass. Although level 1 Origin Spirit martial artists had just awakened their primordial spirit, they could already utilize the power of their primordial spirit. Furthermore, their physiques were also several times stronger than Essence Meridian martial artists. It was not the slightest exaggeration to say that an Essence Meridian martial artist wanting to challenge an Essence Spirit martial artist could simply be described with 3 words: impossible. However, what the fatty encountered was not an ordinary Essence Meridian martial artist, but the reincarnated Heaven Realm's #1 war god. What was impossible to others was extremely easy to Tion. Porcupine's Fury. The fatty didn't wish to waste time on Nietion. His first punch contained all his strength, using the power of his primordial spirit as he blasted a punch towards Nietion. The power of this punch was 7 to 8,000 Jin. Even ordinary essence spirit martial artists would find it hard to resist. But Nietion actually did not even look at the fatty. There was no fear on his face, but it was extremely calm. 9 Extremes War God Art, War God Emperor Fist. Nietion's entire body trembled. Surging essence energy surged out, and he immediately blasted a punch-out, clashing head-on with the fatty. 9 Extremes War God Art. This was precisely the supreme martial art that Nietion cultivated in his previous life. The reason why he could become the Heaven Realm's war god was all because of the 9 Extremes War God Art. This was the first time he used the 9 Extremes War God Art after his rebirth. The powerful power erupted in an instant. It was absolutely not what a puny little level 1 origin spirit trash could withstand. Boom! The moment the War God Emperor Fist was unleashed, the domineering aura of a war god was instantly revealed. The sweeping aura was unstoppable. The fatty didn't even have the chance to cry out tragically. His fat head was actually sent flying by the War God Emperor Fist. Chapter 20. Mo Rushi was stunned silly by the side. A first-level essence spirit martial artist was killed by Nietion in one move, just like that. 2. Inconceivable. Old Third. Fatty's pig head fell, landing right at the feet of the black-clothed leader. The latter let out a pained howl. Stinking brat, you kill my third brother. I'll slaughter you. The lean black-clothed man, following closely behind, saw the head on the ground and was instantly enraged, charging towards Nietion without a care for anything else. A phantom of a long saber appeared in his hand, stabbing out. The powerful aura caused the surrounding air to give off whistling sounds. Second-level essence spirit. Nietion sensed that the lean black-clothed man's strength was not weak, but he only frowned slightly. Following that, he took a step forward and brought Mo Rushi along, nimbly dodging the fatal blow. Bam! The lean black-clothed man's long saber shot out a saber light, slamming onto the stone wall and actually smashing out a half-meter deep pit. Is the essence spirit a weapon spirit? Nietion looked at the lean black-clothed man and smiled faintly. Martial artists' essence spirits were mainly divided into 3 main categories: beast spirit, wood spirit, and weapon spirit. Beast spirit was the essence spirit of various spirit beasts, such as violent earth bear, fire cloud cheetah, dark saber-tooth wolf, etc. This kind of essence spirit was inclined toward attack and could bring a huge boost to the martial artist's strength. Wood spirit was similar to the essence spirit of some plants, such as ghost thorn vine, 9-leaf orchid, 6-soul poison flower, etc. This kind of essence spirit was inclined towards control, and when combined with other martial artists, it could better reflect the might of wood spirit. Weapon spirit was the essence spirit of various weapons, such as huge swords, long sabers, sledgehammers, bows and arrows, etc. This kind of essence spirit was the rarest. Its attack power was extremely strong, and it was the most tyrannical existence among martial artists of the same level. There were also all kinds of variant essence spirits, ghost spirits, strange spirits, dead spirits, etc. They were even rarer, 1 in 10,000. The lean black-clothed man's essence spirit was a long saber. He could be considered as an expert among the same level. Even if he met a third-level essence spirit martial artist, he would be able to put up a fight. Doggy brat, you still have some eyesight. You killed my third brother. Today, I will cut you into 1,000 pieces and use your dog head to comfort my third brother's soul in heaven. The lean black-robed man did not know how Nietion, a martial practitioner at the 9th level of the Essence Meridian realm, was able to kill a fatty at the 1st level of the Essence Spirit realm. His mind had already been clouded by hatred, as the illusory image of a long saber in his hand chopped out forcefully, vowing to hack Nietion to death under his saber. A mere 2nd-level origin spirit trash also wants to kill me. Nietion was not afraid in the slightest. A second-level essence spirit martial artist could merely use his essence spirit and was completely unable to unleash the true power of his essence spirit. If the other party was a peak ninth-level origin spirit realm or myriad phenomenon martial artist, Nietian might still have some fear. But now, he would not take the other party seriously at all. The soul-devouring flower poison in Nietian's body had already been removed. Moreover, he also had the power of the stars in his 10th Yuan meridian, which was almost equivalent to awakening his Yuan spirit. Shua! A saber light flew over. Nietian used graceful steps and easily dodged it. Mo Rushi, stay here and don't move. Nietian could not bring Mo Rushi along with him anymore. The lean black-robed man was in a hurry to kill him, and Mo Rushi following by his side would only be more dangerous. Mo Rushi nodded obediently. This was the first time she had seen such an intense scene of slaughter. To be able to remain so calm was already pretty good. Second brother, don't be rash. There's something strange about this kid. The black-robed man's boss placed the fatty's head to the side and took a step forward. Behind him, the illusory image of a dark green tree appeared. The lean black-robed man instantly calmed down quite a bit after his 2 consecutive strikes missed. A martial practitioner at the 9th level of the Essence Meridian realm, being able to dodge his swift saber was extremely remarkable. With Spirit, 3rd level of the Essence Spirit realm. When Nietian saw the illusory tree behind the black-robed man's boss, he was also shocked. The black-robed man's Yuan spirit was obviously a wood spirit, and its strength was not weak at the 3rd level of the Essence Spirit realm. Once it was controlled by him, coupled with the lean black-robed man's Yuan spirit saber attack, Nietian would be in danger. The black-robed man and the lean black-robed man exchanged glances and nodded at each other. The lean black-robed man circled to the other side of Nietian, forming a triangle with the black-robed man's boss. They slowly closed in on Nietian. The two of them have a tacit understanding. One wants to control me, and the other wants to attack me. I have to be careful. Nietian's heart grew more cautious. The 2 black-robed men were obviously used to working together. They could understand each other's thoughts with just a glance. Swish! Without any warning, the black-robed man's boss directly made his move. The illusory tree suddenly stretched out like a huge hand, grabbing towards Nietian. Trying to control me with just this? Nietian Tianling laughed coldly. With a fierce stomp of his feet, his figure leaped high into the air. Following that, he struck out with his palm, actually launching an attack towards the lean black-robed man. The lean black-robed man's attack power was stronger. As long as he could get rid of him, Nietian would no longer have to fear the black-robed man's control. The lean black-robed man let out a strange cry. It was obvious that he didn't expect Nietian to attack him under such circumstances. Caught off guard, he hastily stabbed out with his saber, but he couldn't avoid Nietian's attack. Bang! The lean black-robed man's body flew out and smashed into the stone wall. After landing on the ground, he spat out a mouthful of blood. War God's 9 layers kill. Not bad. Nietian landed steadily and smiled indifferently. The lean black-robed man's defeat was not undeserved, since he was forced to use the 9 extremities War God art again. Second brother, you go and kill that little girl. I will deal with this brat. The black-robed man was very cunning. He said to the lean black-robed man, try to divert my attention? Nietian smiled faintly. How could he not know what the black-robed man's boss was thinking? Letting the lean black-robed man deal with Mo Rushi was obviously to divert Nietian's attention. Unfortunately, Nietian wasn't worried about Mo Rushi. The lean black-robed man was hit by Nietian's War God's 9 layers kill. Even if he didn't die, he would at least lose a layer of skin, and his battle prowess would be reduced by at least half. At most, he would only be able to display the strength of a 9th level Origin Meridian cultivator. Mo Rushi, don't be afraid of him. He's not your match. Nietian shouted and gave Mo Rushi a confident look. Mo Rushi saw that Nietian was struggling and wanted to help. However, she was afraid that she would become a burden to Nietian, so she didn't go and fight. Now that the lean black-robed man took the initiative to find her, she wouldn't retreat, even if she had to fight with her life on the line. "Little brat, you're really scheming." The black-robed man's boss roared when he saw that his plot had been seen through. He didn't wait any longer and directly attacked. The dark green tree condensed into a huge withered claw and grabbed at Nietion. "This move again?" Nietion smiled in disdain. He didn't dodge the attack and directly punched out, taking the attack of the black-robed man's boss head-on. The withered claw descended, but at this moment, Nietion felt a peculiar throbbing within his body. Nietion's expression changed greatly, and soon after, he revealed an expression of ecstasy. "Stinking brat, you can still laugh at this moment. You're courting death." Seeing that Nietion had a peculiar expression, the black-robed man's boss immediately felt insulted. The withered claw became even more ruthless, and its aura became even more valiant. Chapter 21. The abnormal throbbing in his body made Nietion immediately understand that the power of the second star was about to awaken. The 10th elemental meridian in Nietion's body suddenly trembled, as if it had sensed something. At the same time, within the realm of the Star River, above the first level of the Star River, a shining star suddenly lit up and shot out a ray of starlight, landing on the huge primal star stone. A star spirit pattern on the primal star stone absorbed the starlight and immediately started to shine brightly. In the next moment, the powerful power of the stars gushed out of the 10th elemental meridian and surged into Nietion's dantian. However, this time, the power of the stars did not show any signs of violence. Instead, it quickly fused with Nietion's elemental meridian, causing Nietion's 9 elemental meridians to become more resilient, and the starlight in the 10th elemental meridian also became brighter. Everything happened in the blink of an eye, causing Nietion to be unable to accept it. Divine War Emperor Fist. Nietion was incomparably excited. The power of 2 stars was enough for him to face the black-robed leader head-on. Boom! The Divine War Emperor Fist was unleashed again, and the power of the fist directly blasted a huge hole in the withered tree claw above Nietion's head. My hand!" The withered tree claw image disappeared, and the black-robed leader screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Martial artists and their elemental spirit were closely connected. If the elemental spirit was injured, the martial artist would also be injured. A bloody hole appeared on the black-robed leader's palm, and blood flowed nonstop. "Big brother." The skinny black-robed leader was stunned when he heard the black-robed leader scream. In that instant, Emo Rushi punched out, hitting the shoulder of the skinny black-robed leader, and the latter was immediately sent flying. Emo Rushi seemed to be in disbelief after sending the black-robed leader flying. She looked at her little fist in surprise. The opponent was a second-level origin spirit martial artist. How could he be sent flying with a single punch from her? Emo Rushi thought of this, and a sweet smile appeared on her beautiful face. Little did she know that the skinny man in black was struck by Nietion's battle god 9-stage slash, which prevented him from using his origin spirit, which was why he was so weak. "Emo Rushi, what are you waiting for? Kill him." Nietion glanced at Emo Rushi and shouted, "Damn it, run." The leader of the black-robed men saw that the lean black-robed man had also fallen. He turned around and ran. "Boss." The lean black-clothed man looked at the boss. He wanted to say something, but he was unable to say anything. Nietion looked coldly at the leader of the black-clothed men and said coldly, "It's too late to run now." As soon as he finished speaking, Nietion struck out with the finger of the Grand Orient sect, breaking through the air like an arrow released from a bow. Pooh! With the sound of flesh being pierced, the boss felt a sharp pain in his thigh and fell to the ground with a thud. Nietion caught up with him in a few steps, his eyes filled with a strong, killing intent. "Don't kill me, don't kill me. What do you want? Money? Spirit core? Medicinal pills? I'll give you everything." The boss of the black-clothed men looked at Nietion, his eyes filled with despair. At this moment, he felt the threat of death. "Give me everything?" Nietion Tianling sneered and said, "After I kill you, wouldn't everything that you have on you be mine too? You can't kill me, you can't kill me, I am." As the boss of the black-clothed men spoke, the fear in his eyes became even stronger. "What are you?" Tian saw that the boss of the black-clothed men seemed to be hesitating and asked coldly, I can't say. If I were to say, I will die even more miserably." The boss of the black-clothed men suddenly shook his head as if he had gone mad. At the next moment, the boss of the black-clothed men seemed to be afraid that he would compromise. He suddenly bit down fiercely and actually bit off his own tongue. Fresh blood flowed out from his mouth, and after a while, the boss twitched a few times on the ground and died. Looking at the corpse on the ground, Tian wrinkled his brows and felt puzzled. Just who was the boss of the black-clothed men to actually rather bite his own tongue and commit suicide than to reveal his identity? Tian turned his head around and looked towards Rushi, and discovered that the latter was still staring blankly at the skinny black-clothed man who was lying on the ground. Tian took a look at the skinny black-clothed man who was lying on the ground. The skinny black-clothed man had already fainted, but he wasn't completely dead yet. Rushi, what are you still staring blankly for? Kill him." Tianling said coldly with a commanding tone. "Tian, I don't dare to." Rushi looked towards Tian with a pitiful look on her face. Rushi was a 16-year-old young lady. Ever since she was young, she had been wholeheartedly cultivating, and her dream was to become an unparalleled martial artist. However, killing someone was something that she had never done before. Tian already knew that Rushi would have this kind of reaction. At this moment, he didn't show any tenderness towards the fairer sex just because of Rushi's pitiful look. He suddenly took a step forward, stared at Rushi with his deep and calm eyes, and said expressionlessly, "Rushi, this is a world where the strong are respected, and at the same time, it is a cruel world. Sooner or later, you will walk out of Moyang City, this small place, and sooner or later, you will see the cruel and bloody side of this world. If you want to become a strong martial artist, if you want to survive in this world, then you must learn to be cruel. Learn to be cruel." Rushi went into a daze, and a storm was raging in her heart. Ever since she was young, the people around her had always pampered and respected her, and even the guards of the city lord's mansion had treated her like a little princess. Her father had taught her the best elixirs, the best martial skills, and the best martial arts. He hoped that she would become the most dazzling existence in the future. However, no one had ever told her that in order to become a strong martial artist, she must learn to be cruel. Tian looked at Rushi and continued, "I know that the people around you love you very much, and your father could do anything for you. But there is one thing he can't do for you, and you must do it yourself, and that is to be cruel. If you are not cruel, no one will be cruel for you." As someone who had lived 2 lives, Tian understood the importance of being cruel more than anyone else. Although flowers grown in a greenhouse were delicate and beautiful, they could not withstand the test of cold winter and scorching heat. If Rushi could not learn to be cruel, then even if she awakened a 9th-order supreme origin spirit, it would be impossible for her to become a peerless martial artist. At this moment, the sky gradually darkened. Under the dusky sky, Rushi struggled and hesitated. "Rushi, we don't have much time. The smell of blood in this canyon is very strong, and soon, a large number of spirit beasts will swarm over. If you don't act now, we will be trapped here." Tian looked at Rushi and said in a cold tone. Rushi's beautiful face showed great pain, and it was obvious that this step was really difficult for her. Tian looked at her from the side, and finally he sighed in his heart. "Rushi, I really don't know what to do with you. You are so beautiful, and you look so delicate. How can I bear to force you? Forget it, I'll do it myself." Tian shook his head slightly and took a step forward, ready to deal with the lean black-robed man himself. "Stop, I'll do it." At this time, Rushi suddenly shouted, and on her beautiful face a touch of coldness appeared. She quickly stepped forward and stomped on the lean black-robed man. A moment later, the lean black-robed man completely stopped breathing. Wah! Feeling that the lean black-robed man was no longer breathing, Emo Rushi actually burst into tears. Yet Tian walked forward, hugged her in his arms, and comforted her. It's okay. Everyone has a first time. Just get used to it. Bad guy. Bad guy. Emo Rushi cried like a pear blossom in the rain, and her pink fist punched Nietian's chest. Nietian hugged Emo Rushi even tighter, and a strange thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Why did he feel that the current scene between him and Emo Rushi was like a boy and a girl who had just eaten the forbidden fruit? Unfortunately, Nietian really didn't do anything, and he really suffered a big loss. Thinking of this, Nietian suddenly leaned over and pecked Emo Rushi's pink little face. What are you doing? Emo Rushi suddenly screamed and broke free from Nietian's arms. Her pretty face was as red as a peach, and she tenderly rebuked, Nietian, you're shameless, taking advantage of me. Before Nietian had time to savor the beauty of this kiss, he couldn't help but smile awkwardly and said, I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it, hee. Emo Rushi's little face was red, and the uneasy feeling of killing people from before was completely gone. Nietian became cold, and without delay, he quickly stripped the 3 black-robed men of all their belongings. His harvest was quite plentiful, and he found more than a dozen spirit cores, as well as many first-grade spirit pills. What made him the happiest was that he found a storage bag on the black-robed man's boss. A storage bag, this was a good thing. Although it was far from comparable to a spatial treasure, any one of it would still cost tens of thousands of gold coins. With Nietian's current status, even if he ransacked the Nie family, he still wouldn't be able to buy an empty storage bag. Nietian didn't hesitate and put everything into the storage bag. Emo Rushi, you're the daughter of the city lord. You won't care about these little things, right? Nietian chuckled at Emo Rushi. I don't care about it. Emo Rushi raised her snow-white chin, like a proud little princess, still angry about Nietian's sneak attacking her little face. Let's go. We can't stay here for long. Seeing that the sky was already dark, Nietian decided to immediately return to Moyang City. It's already dark, and I still haven't returned home. Daddy must be worried. Emo Rushi nodded her little head and said with some worry, Sure enough, a little girl. Nietian smiled speechlessly. Wait a minute. The two walked to the exit of the canyon, and Nietian suddenly thought of something. A strange expression appeared on his face, and he suddenly turned around and walked toward the black-clothed man's corpse. Nietian, what else do you want? Seeing Nietian suddenly turn around, Emo Rushi was puzzled. Nietian didn't seem to hear Emo Rushi's words. He quickly walked to a black-clothed man's corpse, squatted down, and lifted the man's sleeve. On the black-clothed man's wrist, a blood-colored bat tattoo appeared. It's really you guys. Nietian stared at the blood bat tattoo on the black-clothed man's wrist, and after a long time, he suddenly let out a roar. Nietian, what's wrong with you? Emo Rushi saw Nietian's ferocious expression, as if he had suddenly changed into a different person. Her face immediately turned pale. Nietian didn't pay attention to Emo Rushi and quickly walked to the other 2 black-clothed men's corpses. He examined their wrists and found the same bloodbat tattoo. Bastard! I, Nietian, swear to the heavens that I will kill you all. I will avenge my father and my clansmen. Nietian suddenly stood up and punched the stone wall, directly smashing a deep hole. Chapter 22. 3 years ago, Nietian, his father, and his clansmen entered the shattering Cloud Mountain range to train. They were ambushed by a group of men in black. His father and his clansmen all died in battle, and only Nietian managed to escape. However, Nietian's Yuan meridians were also destroyed by the men in black. His father died tragically, his clansmen were killed, and his Yuan meridians were destroyed. Nietian would never forget that night. The bloodbat tattoo was a clue that Nietian's father obtained at the risk of his life. Remember? They all have bloodbat tattoos on their wrists. Nye still remembered his father's roar before he died, and it was still ringing in his ears. Perhaps the three men in black did not participate in the ambush 3 years ago, but they were definitely from the same organization. Bloodbat Tattoo. No matter what organization you are from, Nye will definitely kill you all. Nye clenched his fists, and his whole body exuded a terrifying murderous aura. Rushi looked at Nye and vaguely guessed something. She waited until Nye calmed down a little before she stepped forward and asked, Nye, are they the people who killed Uncle Nye 3 years ago? The tragedy of the Nye family 3 years ago was known to everyone in Moyang City. Rushi also had a rough idea, and now, looking at Nye reaction, she could naturally guess a thing or two. Nye nodded solemnly and immediately left with Rushi. He had a hunch that the three men in black seemed to be just a front line, and there might be more men in black coming. This canyon would soon be exposed, so it was better to leave as soon as possible. These men in black appeared in the shattering Cloud Mountain range 3 years ago and caused the tragedy of the Nye family. Now that they appeared again, what was their purpose? No matter why you are here, this time, no matter how many of you come, Nye will kill them all. Nye keenly felt that these men with a bloodbat tattoo must be from a powerful organization, and their purpose of appearing in the shattering Cloud Mountain range was certainly not simple. However, the current Nye was no longer the Nye from 3 years ago. This time, he would absolutely not let go of the chance for revenge. Nye and Rushi did not delay. After leaving the shattering Cloud Mountain range, they directly returned to Moyang City. At the same time, something big also happened in Moyang City. It was already night, but the entrance of the Nye Manor was brightly lit. Hundreds of people surrounded the entrance of the Nye Manor with torches in their hands, looking like they were going to denounce the Nye Manor. In the absence of Nye Grand Elder Nye was the person with the most authority in the Nye family. Nye stood at the entrance of the Nye Manor. Behind him were the Nye family's elders, several deacons, and countless Nye family martial artists. Patriarch Ba, why did you lead a large group of martial artists to surround the Nye residence in the middle of the night? Nye stared at the middle-aged man in front of him and asked in a deep voice. The torch-wielding martial artists surrounding the Nye Manor were none other than those from the Ba clan. And the gloomy middle-aged man standing in the center of the Ba family's martial artists was the head of the Ba family, Ba Wu Li. Beside Ba Wu Li was the Ba family's housekeeper, Ba Wu Ren. The Ba family has gone too far. They actually surrounded the Nye Manor. This is clearly taking a dump on the Nye family's head. We must fight back. That's right. Today, even if I have to risk my life, I will not let the Ba family take half a step into the Nye Manor. Forcing the marriage failed, and now they're here to snatch the marriage? Our Nye family is not a pushover. Who's afraid of who? At worst, we'll fight to the death. The Nye family's martial artists were all filled with righteous indignation. If the Ba family dared to take a step forward, it would definitely be a bloodbath. What am I trying to do? Ba Wu Li's eyes lit up as he shouted. The Nye family's head, Nye crippled my son, Ba Ang, in front of countless people in the market today. If the Nye family knows what's good for them, they will obediently hand over Nye. Otherwise, my Ba family will flatten the Nye Manor and kill everyone in the Nye family. The head crippled Ba Ziang? Nye Wenyuan's heart sank, but he coldly said, Patriarch Ba, you can talk nonsense, but you can't say nonsense. You said that our patriarch crippled the eldest young master of the Ba clan. But how do I know you're not just spouting nonsense? The Nye family and the Ba family were already like fire and water. Ever since Nye rejected the Ba family's forced marriage, there was no room for reconciliation between the two families. Therefore, Nye Wenyuan would not be rude to Ba Wu Li. Old fool, you're the one who's farting. Ba Wu Li roared and became even more irritable. Nye crippled my son. Countless people in the market saw it with their own eyes. If the Nye family does not hand over Nye I, Ba Wu Li, will turn the Nye Manor into a sea of blood and corpses. After saying that, Ba Wuli released a tyrannical aura. As a father, how could he not be angry when his son was crippled? Head Ba, our head is not here right now. You can say whatever you want. But if you want to force your way into the Nye manor, Nye Wenyuan, will not allow it. Nye Wenyuan took a step forward, unafraid of Ba Wuli. Although he looked tyrannical on the surface, Nye Wenyuan had already guessed that what Ba Wuli said was most likely true. Based on Nye Tian's performance in the Nye Manor's meeting hall, it was indeed possible that he could cripple the eldest young master of the Ba family. But now that Nye Tian was not here, he, as the first elder, could only force himself to endure. Nye Wenyuan, I'll ask you one last time. Nye Tian, are you going to hand him over or not? Ba Wuli did not believe that Nye Tian was not in the Nye manor. He believed that Nye Wenyuan must have hidden Nye Tian. Ba Wuli, I'll tell you one last time. Our head is not in the manor. If you want to see him, come back tomorrow. Now that the situation had reached this point, there was no reason for Nye Wenyuan to back down. The martial artists of the two families realized the urgency of the situation. They all rubbed their palms, ready to fight to the death. Dak! At this time, a nefarious young man behind Ba Wuli walked up. He looked at Nye Wenyuan and said in a cold tone, "Don't waste any more words with this old dog. We'll flatten the Nye manor and see how long Nye Tian can hide." After saying that, the nefarious young man made his move. A sharp sword ray shot out from his body towards Nye Wenyuan. Nye Wenyuan reacted quickly. A layer of golden light enveloped his body and swallowed the sword ray. At the same time, the nefarious young man was forced back a few steps. What an arrogant young man. If I'm not wrong, you should be the second young master of the Ba family, Ba Ziliang. Nye Wenyuan looked at the nefarious young man and said in a cold tone. The nefarious young master was none other than the second young master of the Ba family, Ba Ziliang. At the same time, he was also the number one person in a younger generation of the Ba family. Ba Ziliang awakened his origin spirit a year ago and went out to train. He had just returned to the family today when he saw Ba Ziyang being crippled by Nye Tian. Ba Ziyang cried bitterly and begged Ba Ziliang to take revenge for him. Ba Ziliang agreed readily. Actually, Ba Ziliang did not care about this elder brother of the same father but different mother at all. What he cared about was defeating Nye Tian. 3 years ago, at the Moyang City Martial Meet, Ba Ziliang lost to Nye Tian. Ever since then, he had always wanted to take revenge. Now that Ba Ziyang was crippled, it just happened to be a good opportunity for him to take revenge. Old dog, this young master is Ba Ziliang. Quickly make the trash, Nye Tian, scram out here. Otherwise, this young master will definitely bathe the Nye manor in blood. Ba Ziyang stabilized his figure and roared even more arrogantly. Nye Wenyuan shot a cold glance at Ba Ziliang and said, "The Ba family's second young master is indeed worthy of being the number one person in the Ba family's younger generation, already reaching level 4 essence spirit cultivation at a young age. But to want to be arrogant in front of this bit of strength is far from enough." Ba Ziliang was merely 18 years old and already had level 4 essence spirit strength. This talent was seriously breathtaking. No wonder he was so arrogant. However, Nye Wenyuan was a true blue manifestation realm martial artist and completely did not think much of Ba Ziliang. Previously, when Ba Ziliang suddenly made a move, Nye Wenyuan could totally heavily injure him or even kill him. The reason why he did not do so was that he did not wish to force the situation to a dead end. Unless it was absolutely necessary, the Nye family still could not choose to go all out against the Ba family. Old ignorant fart, your strength is indeed very strong. To actually be a manifestation martial artist. Ba Wuli was rather shocked in his heart when he saw Ba Ziliang being forced back. Ba Ziyang being crippled, Ba Wuli's fury could be imagined. But he did not choose to directly make a move against the Nye family because he was wary of Nye Wenyuan, this manifestation martial artist's existence. Manifestation realm martial artists were absolutely the pinnacle existences in Moyang City. In the entire Moyang City, apart from the city lord, there was only Nye Wenyuan, this one manifestation martial artist. Even the Ba family's family head and Ba family's head elder only had level 9 essence spirit strength. The Nye family's overall strength may not be comparable to the Ba family, but with a manifestation martial artist like Nye Wenyuan holding down the fort, the Ba family would have to pay a huge price if they wanted to go all out against the Nye family. Nye Wenyuan, you old fart, how dare you attack my son? Ba Wuli took a step forward, his aura becoming even stronger. Although Ba Wuli was wary of Nye Wenyuan's strength, this did not mean that he was afraid of the latter. As long as he was angered, he would still go all out against the Nye family. Nye Wenyuan laughed coldly and took a step forward, directly dispersing Ba Wuli's aura. He said disdainfully, Ba Wuli, you really know how to bite first. It was clearly your son who attacked first. I was only passively defending. Also, I'd already shown mercy. Otherwise, your precious son would already be a corpse right now. Actually, all the essence spirit martial artists present could see that Nye Wenyuan had indeed shown mercy. Ba Wuli laughed sinisterly and roared, no matter what, if the Nye family does not hand over Nye Tian, the Ba family will not rest. That's right, we will not rest. The Ba family martial artists shouted in unison. People of the Ba family, as long as you dare to take even half a step into the Nye family will fight to the bitter end. The people of the Nye family did not back down. In an instant, the atmosphere turned into a state of mutual hostility. If they were not careful, both sides would fight to the death. At this time, a figure in white suddenly appeared and slowly walked over. The crowd sensed someone's appearance and turned around. When they saw the face of the person clearly, they all revealed expressions of awe and automatically made way for him. The figure in white walked over step by step, and in the blink of an eye, he was already at the center of the crowd. Mr. Nye, Brother Ba, long time no see. The figure in white said indifferently, greeting Nye Wenyuan and Ba Wuli. Nye Wenyuan and Ba Wuli hurriedly returned the greeting and said at the same time, City Lord Mo, long time no see. That's right, the person who came was none other than the City Lord of Moyang City, Mo Tai. In Moyang City, the only person who could make the Ba family voluntarily make way for him in this kind of situation was Mo Tai. Mo Tai smiled faintly and said, I have something to discuss with Mr. Nye. I didn't expect this place to be so crowded. Did I disturb you? City Lord Mo must be joking. It is this old man's honor to be visited by City Lord Mo. When Nye Wenyuan heard that Mo Tai was looking for him, he was immediately overjoyed and said in a clear voice. Mo Tai nodded slightly, but his expression became serious in the next moment. My daughter suddenly disappeared without reason today. The guard in the city told this Mo that my daughter was with the Nye family head, Nye Tian. Therefore, this city lord has specially come to visit the Nye family. Please let Nye Tian show himself. Chapter 23. The moment Mo Tai's words left his mouth, Nye Wenyuan froze. He didn't expect that Mo Tai's visit to the Nye residence was also to denounce them. Mo Tai's last words were clearly in order for Nye Wenyuan to hand over Nye Tian. My little ancestor, how much trouble have you caused in the past half a day? Nye Wenyuan's forehead was covered in sweat. At this moment, he even felt like crying. It had only been half a day since Nye Tian had left the Nye clan. First, he had crippled the eldest young master of the Ba clan. Then, he had abducted the daughter of the city magistrate. The troubles he had stirred up were getting more and more serious. Nye Wenyuan finally believed that the matter of Nye Tian crippling the first young master of the Ba clan was definitely true. However, compared to the Ba clan's matter, Mo Tai's matter was even more difficult to deal with. Everyone in Moyang City knew that Mo Tai had no children. He only had one daughter, Mo Rushi. Mo Rushi was the apple of his eye. She was afraid of melting in his mouth, afraid of getting hot in his embrace. If Nye Tian really did anything to Mo Rushi, Mo Tai would never let the Nye clan off. Nye Wenyuan knew that Mo Tai had always been an upright person with a good reputation in Moyang City. He definitely wouldn't lie. At this moment, Nye Wenyuan was so anxious that his eyebrows were thin. If it was just the Ba clan, he could still handle it. However, now that there was the city lord, Nye Yuan really couldn't handle it anymore. Mr. Nye, are you still unwilling to hand over Nye Tian? Mo Tai's expression turned cold. The threat in his tone became even stronger. Mo Rushi was his only daughter. She was practically his life. If anyone dared to touch Mo Rushi, Mo Tai would definitely fight them to the death. Mo Rushi returned home late today. Mo Tai was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. When he heard that Mo Rushi left the city with Nye Tian, he immediately rushed to the Nye residence. No matter what, Mo Tai must see Nye Tian today. He must see his daughter. Sensing Mo Tai's anger, Nye Yuan swallowed his saliva and said, "City Lord, our patriarch is really not in the residence. If you don't believe me, you can personally search the Nye residence." At this moment, Nye Yuan didn't know how many times he had cursed Nye Tian in his heart. This little bastard had made such a big mess, yet he still hadn't come back. Was he trying to kill his old bones? This brat caused such a big mess and still didn't come back. Was he trying to kill his old bones? Nye Yuan even suspected that Nye Tian really took Mo Rushi away and never came back. If that was true, the Nye clan would be in trouble. The Ba clan also had a smile on their faces, waiting to see Nye clan make a move. The people of the Ba clan were also smiling, waiting to see a good show from the Nye clan. On the other hand, the faces of the Nye clan members were waxen, clearly frightened. Who in Moyang City did not know of Mo Tai's love for his daughter? If Mo Tai was angered, the Nye clan would not be able to bear the consequences. The bigger the trouble Nye Tian caused, the happier he would be. The bigger the trouble Nye Tian caused, the happier he would be. This was the only way he could regain control of the Nye clan. Mo Tai heard Nye Yuan's words and suddenly turned around, sending out a punch. Bam! The word Nye on the Nye residence's gate was smashed into sawdust. Mo Tai emitted a violent aura and roared. Nye Yuan, do you think the city lord is a 3-year-old child? This city lord will give you 1 minute. If Nye Tian doesn't show up in 1 minute, the Nye clan will be smashed into smithereens like this plaque. Mo Tai was furious. He was really furious. If he didn't see Mo Rushi, he would go berserk at any time. Nye Yuan was stunned and couldn't speak for a long time. Mo Tai was too strong. He couldn't deal with him. Nye clan, listen up. Search the entire city for the patriarch. Even if we have to dig 3 feet underground, we must find him. Nye Yuan had no other choice. If Nye Tian didn't show up tonight, the Nye clan would be in big trouble. Before Nye Yuan could finish his sentence, a calm voice suddenly sounded. There's no need to look. This patriarch is back. The calm voice sounded and Nye Tian's figure appeared. Beside him was a graceful figure, Mo Rushi. Mo Rushi originally wanted to return to the city lord's residence, but Nye Tian insisted that she stay by his side. Mo Rushi had no choice but to follow him. Mo Rushi had the divine phoenix eel in her body and could lose control at any time. Nye Tian wouldn't let an active volcano roam Moyang City. Mo Rushi being by Nye Tian's side was the safest. As long as the divine phoenix seal showed any abnormalities, Nye Tian would take necessary measures. My little ancestor, you're finally back. Nye Yuan was so moved that tears streamed down his cheeks when he saw Nye Tian's face. If Nye Tian came back a minute later, the Nye clan might really be smashed into smithereens. Rushi. When Mo Tai saw Mo Rushi's figure, he shouted loudly and rushed over with large strides. He hugged Mo Rushi in his arms as if she was still a 6 or 7-year-old girl. Father, I'm fine. Mo Rushi was a little embarrassed in front of so many people and struggled to break free from Mo Tai's embrace. Nye Tian couldn't help but shake his head when he saw Mo Tai like this. With a father like this, it's no wonder it's so difficult for Mo Rushi to kill someone. Mo Tai was too good to Mo Rushi. This kind of fatherly love was almost abnormal. Was it good to have a father like Mo Tai? Yes and no. As long as Mo Rushi was under his protection, she would not come to any harm. Otherwise, Mo Rushi would never be able to grow up under his care. Nye Tian no longer paid any attention to the father and daughter of the Mo family. He quickly walked to Nye Wenyuan's side and swept his cold gaze over the Ba family members. He said in a flat voice, "It's so lively here. Does the Ba family want to have a get-together with the Nye family?" Everyone in the Nye clan laughed when they heard Nye Tian's words. Nye Wenyuan glanced at Nye Tian and said, "Little ancestor, you still have the mood to joke in such a tense atmosphere. I really have to kneel in front of you. Fine, you're the patriarch anyway. You can do whatever you want. As long as you can protect the Nye clan, I will consider you powerful." Ba Wuli glared at Nye Tian and was about to spit fire. If Nye Wenyuan wasn't here, he would have killed Nye Tian with a single slap. Before Ba Wuli could speak, a figure appeared behind him. It was Ba Ziliang. "Nye Tian, you're finally here. Do you still remember me?" Ba Ziliang looked at Nye Tian with disdain. "Yo!" Nye Tian laughed exaggeratedly and said, "Isn't this my defeated opponent, Ba Ziliang? What? Your elder brother crippled me, and you're itching for a beating too. Can't wait to cripple me?" As soon as Nye Tian's words left his mouth, the crowd burst into an uproar. Bastard! Eldest young master was really crippled by this guy. How dare he admit it so openly? Isn't this a slap to the Ba clan's face? Isn't Nye Tian a cripple? How could he cripple eldest young master? This is too strange. Whether he's a cripple or not, he dared to cripple eldest young master of the Ba clan. This matter will not end until he's dead. These were the angry words of the Ba clan. The patriarch really crippled Ba Ziyang. That's amazing. Yeah, as expected of the Nye clan's patriarch. This is so satisfying. The Ba clan has bullied us for so long. It's time for us to fight back. The people of the Nye clan, on the other hand, were very excited. Nye Santong looked at Nye Tian with disdain and thought, "He's still young and a fool. Even if you really crippled eldest young master of the Ba clan, there's no need to say it in front of the Ba clan. Aren't you just asking for a beating?" Nye Tian's thoughts at this time were naturally not what Nye Santong could fathom. Honestly speaking, Nye Tian did not place the Ba clan in his sights at all. For him to dare be so arrogant, he naturally had confidence in his heart. Ever since seeing Mo Tai's concern for Mo Rushi, Nye Tian had a score in his heart. Being ridiculed by Nye Tian in turn, a hint of savagery flashed across Ba Ziliang's face. His eyes swiveled, and he let out a disdainful cold laugh as he said, "Nye Tian, do you think that you're still the #1 genius of Moyang City in the past? It's been 3 years, and you're still at the 9th level Essence Meridian realm. While me, I'm already a 4th level Essence Spirit Martial Artist. The current you is just a small fry in front of me. If I want to kill you, I only need to move my pinky, and it's enough. What #1 genius of Moyang City? It's not even dog's hit." When Ba Ziliang said until the end, he actually started laughing wildly. The #1 genius of the past being reviled by him like this was truly exciting. 4th level Essence Spirit Martial Artist? Is it very powerful? Nye Tianling smiled coldly. His gaze, when looking at Ba Ziliang, had an additional hint of sympathy as he said, "Ba Ziliang, even if I only have 9th level Essence Meridian strength, you're still not my match. Merely a defeated opponent under my hands. I wonder what the hell you're so arrogant about." The Ba brothers were all the same. With just a bit of strength, they would be arrogant to no end. 4th level Essence Spirit. In front of the previous life's Nye Tian, they were not even fit to carry his shoes. Nye Tian's current situation really reflected a saying, "A leopard cat in power was as ferocious as a tiger. A phoenix in dire straits was inferior to a chicken." There was another saying that was also very apt to describe Nye Tian. That was, "A dragon trapped in the shallows would be toyed with by the prawns. A tiger in dire straits would be bullied by dogs." But Nye Tian, this dragon trapped in the shallows, just did not wish to be toyed with by the prawns. He wanted to play with the prawns instead. Nye Tian, how arrogant of you. A mere 9th level Essence Meridian Ant also dares to boast in front of this young master? Do you believe that this young master will kill you right now? Ba Ziliang was greatly enraged, a roar emitting from his throat. A vicious light shot out from his eyes, as if he wanted to hack Nye Tian into 1,000 pieces in the next instant. "Kill me right now?" Nye Tianling laughed and said, "Do you dare?" Buzzyliang was enraged to the extreme, his teeth almost shattering as he glared fiercely at Nye Wenyuan behind Nye Tian, roaring, "Nye Tian, you coward! Aren't you just relying on that old dog behind you to back you up? If not for him, would you still dare to be so arrogant?" Buzzyliang felt that the reason why Nye Tian dared to be so arrogant was none other than because Nye Wenyuan was present. If not for Nye Wenyuan, Nye Tian guaranteed that he would not even dare to let out a fart.